My parents said my younger sister is ungrateful and won't leave her a single penny. Without another word, they transferred 20 million directly to me. The transfer even included a note in the memo field, voluntary gift. 2 days later, on February 28th, I was invited home for dinner. The moment I saw my sister, I was shocked. Her face was covered in scars. Not only that, but she was also limping. Just as I was about to ask what happened, my sister's eyes met mine with a wild, frenzied look. And she shouted, "Tenfold system, activate." A wave of dizziness washed over me. My sister transformed into a breathtakingly beautiful fairy, and her lame leg was instantly healed. Yet, my face was left covered in scars, and my leg was crippled. Not only that, but my bank account balance was inexplicably wiped clean in an instant. "Luna, it's here, haha, 206 million. Mom and Dad shouted excitedly. He looked down at me with contempt as I lay on the ground. This poor wretch only managed to save a little over 60,000 in a whole year of work. Afraid I would reveal the truth, they knocked me out and sold me into the remote mountains. After discovering I wasn't a virgin and had a filthy disease, I was beaten to death by a violent maniac. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying in my rented room's bed. My phone lit up, a WeChat call request from Mom. My eyes instantly welled up, and I gritted my teeth so hard they nearly cracked. It took me a full 2 minutes to compose myself before I called her back. "Hello, Mom, you silly girl. Why didn't you pick up the phone for so long?" My dad, who was off screen, must have reminded her to watch her tone. She then reined in her temper and said to me, "We're at the ICBC on Twangia West Road. You need to come over right now." I sneered inwardly. Here we go again with the same old plot from my past life. "Okay, Mom, I'll be right there." Then, I leisurely started browsing the web. 2 hours later, I finally showed up. "Mom, Dad, why did you ask me to come to the bank, you wretched girl, making us wait here for 2 hours? I could just wring your neck. In my past life, I would have just taken that scolding without a word, but in this life, I won't be that pathetic creature, desperate for a shred of familial affection, facing my mom's furious strike." I immediately employed Master Ma's technique of intercepting and neutralizing the force, but I held back on the counter. Afraid she wouldn't be able to take it, I caught her arm as she swung with all her might, twisted it in one fluid motion, pinned it behind her back, and pulled her into a gone-with-the-wind embrace. At the same time, I poured out my genuine feelings. "Mom, I know you're upset, but just hold on a second. What the me?" Mom wanted to launch another basic attack, but realizing I had her locked in tight, she suddenly felt a bit awkward. I quickly changed the subject. "Mom, Dad, why did you ask me to come? It's all because of that ungrateful daughter Luna. She's always fooling around and talking back to us. We've decided she's not getting a single penny. From my memories of my past life, my sister might not have been picking flowers, but she was definitely stirring up trouble, otherwise she wouldn't have caught those nasty diseases." My mother wore a mask of grief and indignation, but her eyes were brimming with affection. How could I have been so blind in my past life to such a terrible performance? Too, when I was born, my family was just getting started. They were both so busy they had no time to care for me, so they sent me to live with my grandmother in the countryside. I wouldn't see them more than once a year. It wasn't until I was 6 years old that they had my sister. Now that they're successful, of course they kept my sister to raise themselves, remembering they had another child, and that I was already 6. They brought me back to the city. I sometimes wonder if my sister had never been born, they might never have brought me back at all. Some kids in the village used to bully me. When my grandmother went to confront their parents about it, they even hit her on the head hard enough to make it bleed. I called my mom and dad, and all they said was, "Stop causing trouble and making more work for us." From that moment on, I learned to swallow my pain, even when I was bullied outside. I never said a word about it to my grandmother. That's what shaped me into an introverted person, too afraid to speak up. When I returned to the city, my parents took one look at me, shabbily dressed and timid, and their faces were filled with nothing but disdain and displeasure. Mom curled her lip and said to Dad, "Look at the child your mother raised. She reeks of the countryside. Don't you dare tell anyone she's my daughter when we go out." To win their affection, I helped with the housework as much as I could. Eventually, once I had mastered all the skills, preparing my sister's milk, changing her diapers, cleaning her bottom, and putting her to sleep, Mom and Dad handed all those chores over to me. At night, my sister would cry her lungs out, while Mom and Dad snored like thunder. I was the only one looking after my little sister day and night. It just goes to show, the more hardship you can endure, the more you'll be given. The more well-behaved and sensible you are, the more you'll be taken for granted. One time, our parents took us both to the amusement park. I said I needed to use the restroom, but my little sister kept throwing a fit, demanding to go on the bumper cars. Without a second thought, our parents decided to do the bumper cars first. After 10 minutes, my sister wasn't satisfied and threw another fit, so we ended up going 2 more times. By the time they came back, they saw my pants were soaked. Feeling the mocking stares from passers-by, my father slapped me right across the face. From then on, I was never included in any outings for fun. 3. I snapped back to attention. Mom, Dad, I know you're just saying that because you're upset. Please don't transfer the money to me. I really can't accept it. As usual, I played the meek and timid card. We are giving you this money, whether you want it or not. Mom's voice began to rise sharply. No, I can't accept this. I refused firmly. But no sooner had the words left my mouth than my mother swung a slap at me. I subtly crouched down and pretended to tighten my already tight shoelaces, and that slap landed squarely on my father's face. You son of a... My dad was about to blow up, but after catching my mom's murderous glare, he swallowed the rest of his words, chewing them up and forcing them down. He was clearly getting impatient. Rhea, listen to your mother. Let's just go to the bank and get the transfer done. I knew they wouldn't let it go unless I took their money. Besides, I already had a plan, so I dutifully gave them my bank card number. Once they had my card number, the two of them went straight to the VIP counter to proceed. Ding, my phone chimed with a notification. A deposit of 88 million into my bank account. What's going on? In my last life, it was only 20 million. How did it jump to 68 million in this one? Before I could figure it out, another message came through. It was a note. This transfer is a voluntary gift. Mom and Dad insisted the bank teller add that part. It dawned on me. They must be afraid this money won't be counted as my personal assets. You've really gone to great lengths to scheme against me, in my past life, after they tied me up. I overheard many of their secrets. My sister's Tenfold system allows her to lock onto 3 of my attributes, multiply them by 10, and then swap them to herself. However, there is one condition. My sister's 3 attributes cannot be higher than mine. Moreover, if even one attribute fails to exchange, all 3 locked attributes will not be swapped. Instead, they will be multiplied tenfold and remain with me. My sister directly bound my looks, health, and wealth. My sister originally wanted to bind someone else, but the system prompted, only those with a blood relation can be bound. Therefore, she had no choice but to select me. To ensure her looks were inferior to mine, she scarred her own face and bought me top-tier skincare products. To lose to me in terms of health, she deliberately broke her own leg and engaged in improper relationships with unsavory characters, contracting a filthy disease. To lose to me in terms of wealth, she had our parents transfer 20 million to my name. I thought our parents' total assets were only around 20 million. It seems they have quite a bit more than that, don't they? What I didn't know is that this time, not only did our parents use all their assets, but all 3 of them also separately took out loans with outrageously high interest rates. This way, my assets are guaranteed to surpass my sister's. And once the system processes the exchange, any assets they transfer to me now will be multiplied tenfold. With a surefire deal like this, they should just borrow the money without a second thought. For, Dad said earnestly, Rhea, even though I've given you the money, you mustn't spend it recklessly. You need to understand the value of making it last. Mom said with genuine emotion. Vic, what are you talking about? I've watched Rhea grow up. She's not the type to be frivolous with money at all. I get it. I get it. Even though you've given me the money, I can't go spending it recklessly, because it's still your money in the end. I nodded obediently. Don't worry, Mom and Dad. You both work hard for your money. I won't waste it. Yeah, right. The 2 words were silent. With the money now in my account, I decided it was time to put my own plan into action. In this life, I will make everyone who has ever hurt me pay. Rhea, where do you think you're going? Mom grabbed my arm. Today is February 26th. Just like in my previous life, these 2 are determined to stick to me like glue, to stop me from ruining my looks and my health, and to keep me from spending any money right under their noses. I hired 10 elite bodyguards, 6 men and 4 women, using just my phone. You don't know until you hire one, but elite female bodyguards aren't any cheaper than the men. In fact, their starting rates are even higher. I went for the top-tier package. Of course, it's 35,000 per person per month, so 350,000 for all 10. It's not my money anyway, so I didn't feel the slightest bit of guilt spending it. A WeChat friend request came in from someone named Captain Kane. I accepted it immediately and changed the contact name to Colleague Kane. Colleague Kane, hello Rhea, my team and I have arrived at the address you specified. Me, send up 4 female team members. The rest are to stand by in the vehicle. Colleague Kane, got it. 5, knock, knock, knock. I immediately walked over to open the door. 4 well-dressed young women stood chatting and laughing outside the door. Rhea, wow, they're chatting like they've known each other for years. You'd think they were long-lost sisters or something. They're definitely pros. They must have done their homework on me before coming. Rhea, who are all these people? My mom asked, standing up abruptly as soon as she saw the crowd, her expression shifting uneasily. I laughed and said, they're all my colleagues. Just here to hang out. My mom shot my dad a subtle, almost imperceptible glance, thinking no one else noticed. Little did she know, 5 of us, myself included, caught it right away. It felt just like in Honor of Kings when you think you've stealthily slipped into a bush to ambush someone, only to realize a few of us sneaky veterans have been camping in the next bush for ages. I made a special note to the security company to protect me from my own family. That's why they're paying extra close attention to my parents' every move. Ahem, my dad cleared his throat. Look how small Ria's rental place is. There's hardly any room for you all to sit. No worries, uncle, we can just sit on her bed. With that, all 5 of us girls squeezed into my bedroom. Tilly, grab the deck of cards from the table. Let's play Fight the Landlord. Got it, Zoe. All right then, I've memorized both names right away. Tilly, Zoe. I couldn't help but admire these bodyguards' intelligence and emotional intelligence. There was no whispering or skulking about. They introduced themselves openly and confidently. I was a bit distracted while playing landlords with them, because I had no idea what my parents were planning right now. Zoe could tell something was on my mind. Without a word, she produced a tablet with a pair of headphones attached. On the screen, my parents' every move was clearly visible. Then she quickly typed a message on her phone. It's time to use lunch as an excuse to get us out of here. Sure enough, it wasn't long before a knock came at my bedroom door. Ria, what are we having for lunch? Mom's voice called from outside the door. I could hear the suppressed anger in her voice, but I pretended not to notice. Mom, you and Dad go ahead and eat. I'll take my sisters out for a meal later. My mom immediately protested. There was no way she was going to let me out of her sight. She quickly added, your father and I can't cook either. The housekeeper usually handles that. We'll go out to eat with you. 6. Inside the private dining room, Jean Xiaoxian, at the Imperial Hotel, after confirming that no one had any dietary restrictions, I decisively ordered the Chinese deluxe set menu. I had originally planned to order a bottle of 1992 Lafite, only 200,000 bottles of the 1982 Lafite were produced, yet over 300,000 have been sold in China. That's when my mom started lecturing me. Ria, I don't mean to nag, but, Ria, let's skip the wine. Yeah, none of us like that stuff anyway. It's so sour and gross. It finally dawned on me that the ladies weren't allowed to drink while on a mission. My mom's words trailed off mid-sentence, while on the other side, my dad breathed a sigh of relief. The courses were brought to the table one after another, lobster, abalone, sea cucumber, you name it. Honestly, this was my first time ever having a feast at a 5-star hotel. The 5 of us were relishing every bite, while 2 others were eating with gritted teeth. In the private room next door at Qinglan residence, 5 well-trained, close-cropped young men glanced at the sumptuous feast on the table. Then at their captain who was eating with obvious relish. They exchanged uncertain looks, their chopsticks hovering in hesitation. Captain, are you sure someone's covering the bill for this? Bodyguard Bo still couldn't quite believe it and wanted to double-check. Kane's chiseled face hardened, a sharp eyebrow arching. If you're too scared to eat, go hungry. The rest of you, dig in. No, sir. Yes, sir. They chorused in unison, their response so forceful it nearly blew the roof off the private room. Hiss. The room was filled with the sound of sharp, indrawn breaths. Each of them got another whack on the head with the silver spoon. Kane's face darkened. We're protecting the boss secretly. Secretly, do you get it? The group almost shouted yes, sir, in unison again, but seeing the spoon raised in their captain's hand, they instantly lowered their volume. Their vocal cords didn't even vibrate, producing a voiceless, whispered yes, sir. The brocade pavilion private room. My parents had sour looks on their faces the whole time. They tried their hardest to force a smile, but couldn't even manage a fake one. They often have lavish meals costing 30,000 yuan themselves, and they don't bat an eye at the expense. But if that same 30,000 yuan feast were for me, they'd both think I'm not worthy of it. I can just imagine what's going through their heads. Damn, when I have a meal, it's only 30,000, but you little brat. Your 30,000 yuan meal today will turn into a 300,000 yuan bill in 2 days. I hope you choke on it. After stewing over it for ages, my mom finally couldn't hold back. She called me outside and said, Ria, we just told you to be more frugal and make the money last. How on earth did you spend over 30,000 on a single meal? Exactly, my dad chimed in. With your salary, how long would it even take you to earn 30,000? I threw my hands up. My fault, I suppose. You know what? You're right, Mom, Dad. I'll just transfer the money back to you. I won't take it. It's much better for you two to manage the money yourselves. Absolutely not. My mom's voice was shrill, but she was cut off mid-sentence by a sharp slap across the face. My mom was completely stunned. When she snapped out of it, she was furious and humiliated. Vic, how dare you hit me? My dad squared his shoulders defiantly. Why wouldn't I dare? What's wrong with my daughter spending a little money on a nice meal? Hazel, let me tell you something. We will spoil our own daughter if we want to, Dad. I gratefully threw my arms around him, blinking hard a few times but failing to squeeze out a single tear. My mom was quick on the uptake and hurried to reassure me. I didn't say anything against it. If the kid wants to spend some money, let them spend it. 7. After settling the bill, I left without provoking either of them further and headed straight back to my rented apartment. My parents were trying to hint it was time for her to leave again. Ria, they said, look how late it's getting, don't you think? Oh, right, it is getting late. Mom, Dad, you should head home for now. My parents, is this girl's reading comprehension a bit below par? I glanced at the narrow, flimsy single bed in the cramped rental room. This little bed definitely can't fit 3 of us. Mom and Dad fell silent. After a long pause, they finally managed to say, we'll sleep on the sofa. Absolutely not. I made the classic Zue, don't go, meme face. I could never let my dear parents sleep on the sofa, so I settled Mom and Dad in the single bed, and I went to stay at a hotel with my bodyguard friends. Left alone in the rented apartment, the 2 of them stared at each other in awkward silence. My dad hurriedly called the head of company security. Hey, keep a close eye on that damn girl. Report her location to me at all times. Roughly 10 minutes later, a video call came through on my dad's phone. The call connected, revealing the face of the security chief. Bert, boss, he said urgently. I've lost her, you useless piece of trash, you moron, at $%. Bert was getting absolutely roasted. He was speechless, he was following just fine, and then this Buick GL8 suddenly cut in front of him and started crawling along at a snail's pace. There had been over 10 seconds left on the green light, but thanks to that Buick's slow roll, all he got was a red light. With his boss breathing down his neck, he floored it and ran the red light to catch up. A traffic officer on duty signaled for him to pull over, but he ignored it. At the next intersection, he was boxed in and stopped by several motorcycle cops. Honey, why does everything feel so off in this life? So many things are different from the last one. My father nodded in agreement, his brow furrowed deeply. In the previous timeline, that wretched girl's colleague never came knocking on our door. My mother gasped, her voice laced with worry. You don't think that Brad has figured something out, do you? Impossible, absolutely impossible. Only the 3 of us know about Luna's system. How could that damn girl have possibly discovered it, unbeknownst to the 2 of them? Their every word and movement was being transmitted in real time to a control tablet via a listening device. Pfft, inside the hotel's presidential suite, Nina couldn't help but let out a snort of laughter as she watched the surveillance footage. Once she started, the others joined in with unrestrained guffaws. It was like a scene straight out of an old war movie, where the Japanese commander orders his troops, sneak into the village quietly, and no shooting. The village chief and little soldier Zhang Jie nodded in agreement behind their backs. Yoshi, the scene cuts back to the rental apartment. After finding out I wasn't at the apartment, Luna sent a video call request. Mom, Dad, what's going on? How could you let him slip away? Luna's scarred face looked even more menacing with anger. Oh, Luna, don't get so worked up. We can't possibly follow her every single step, can we? That would just make her suspicious. Exactly, Luna. She's just a naive little girl who's never seen the world. She barely spends $100,000 a day. What on earth are we worried about? Hearing her parents' words, Luna's expression finally softened a little. Of everyone, she was under the most pressure. If the system exchange failed, her parents would at most lose some money, but she would lose everything. That's why she couldn't afford to be the slightest bit careless. For the past couple of days, she had been glued to her phone, checking her messages. She was determined to keep a constant watch for any money transfers from Ria before the system exchange began. If Ria managed to send the money, the entire plan would be ruined. Not only that, but Ria would also walk away with a massive windfall that simply couldn't be allowed to happen. After ending the video call, my dad made a few phone calls and managed to track down the hotel I was staying at. My colleague Kane reported, "Boss, the car with the 4 tails is parked outside the hotel too." "It's fine, just a few dogs, don't worry about them." Kane looked at his team. "Keep your eyes on them. If they dare get close to the boss, take them down, non-lethal force." The remaining 5 men replied in a low, unified voice, "Yes, sir." The next morning, Mom and Dad came to find me, dark circles under their eyes. It seemed they hadn't slept well on my hard, narrow bed. Another day of pure indulgence. I also went on a shopping spree at the luxury stores. After clearing out a wave of goods, I realized I'd only spent a little over $1.5 million. My parents had sour looks on their faces the entire time. They had gone all in, hoping to maximize their profits and make a killing. Little did they know I was such a spendthrift, burning through money without a second thought. Every purchase I made felt like a stab in the heart to them. The way their facial muscles were twitching, you'd think they were about to have a stroke. The pleasant day was finally over. Tomorrow, I'd have to face my sister for real. 8. In front of Vic's villa, I saw Luna's chiseled face again. Anyone who didn't know better would think she'd fallen into a wood chipper. Honestly, she didn't need to scar her face with a knife. She could never match my beauty, and even if she hadn't caught some filthy disease, I'd still be healthier than her. And yet, she dragged herself down to that state, all because of her twisted jealousy and malice. She wanted to hog every last bit of good fortune for herself, leaving none for me. Oh, sister, what happened to your face? Who in the world did this to you? I exclaimed with righteous fury. If it weren't for the Mona Lisa smile that followed, betraying my true feelings, I would have kept up the act. Ha ha ha. My sister's maniacal, twisted laughter seemed to drop the temperature in the room by several degrees. With a fanatical gleam in her eyes, she stared at my flawless, pale face. Sis, do you know what day it is today? I shook my head. My sister said, today is the day of the 7-star conjunction. Do you know what that means? I just shook my head. It means my tenfold system will activate, and you'll lose everything. My eyes darted around in panic. Have you lost your mind? I'm your sister, your own flesh and blood. Shut up. What gives you the right to call yourself my sister? You're nothing but a pathetic, unloved wretch. I turned to look at Mom and Dad behind me. Mom, Dad, what is my sister talking about? Has she lost her mind? Ha ha ha. To my shock, they both let out a bone-chilling laugh in unison. Mom, you little bitch, you jinx. If it weren't for getting pregnant with you, would your father have cheated? Would that old witch, your grandma, have nagged in my ear non-stop? Would my father have died? My eyes widened in disbelief as I stared at Hazel. Are you kidding me? Vic cheated because he's a scumbag. Grandma berates you because you're the problem. My grandpa died in that car crash because he was a drunk driver. Earthquakes, typhoons, floods, just pin them all on me. While I'm at it, I single-handedly stirred up the Iraq War too. I'm wrong. I'm guilty. My counterattack was as rapid and sharp as machine gun fire. Leaving Hazel almost speechless, she suddenly stopped talking, thought it over carefully. And you know what? Every single one of those accusations could indeed be pinned on me. While Hazel was lost in thought, Vic wasn't having it. He immediately latched onto a key point. Hey, you little brat, who exactly are you saying has no character? I rolled my eyes so hard my pupils disappeared. Dad, your reading comprehension is seriously lacking. Didn't you hear me specify the subject? My dad, that's you. The little sparrow I used to bully suddenly turned into a big, bad eagle. Seeing he couldn't win the argument, my dad charged at me and delivered a thunderous slap. But come on, the wind-up on that heavy attack was so long, even Shaq's grandma could have sidestepped it. Okay, I pulled the same old trick, bending down to tie my shoelaces. Smack. My mom, who was watching with gleeful schadenfreude, took the slap full in the face, spun 180 degrees on the spot, and hit the deck. Vic missed his first strike and was already raising his hand for another. Stop. I wasn't even that upset about being hit, but Luna was furious. Her looks were about to be enhanced tenfold based on mine. How could she just stand by and watch me get beaten? Luna shot a look of disgust at our mother on the floor and our stunned father, then cautiously checked a text message on her phone. After confirming it was safe, she declared, Tenfold system, activate. 9. A familiar dizziness washed over me. And then I saw Luna enveloped in a sacred, golden light. Her face was the first to transform. The scar that once marked it began to flake away like fragments. I wanted to step closer to witness this miraculous sight, but found myself completely unable to move. Before long, my sister's beauty and health were restored. A woman of breathtaking beauty, like a goddess descended from the heavens, appeared before me. Her eyes sparkled with life, her gaze was captivating, and her every movement was grace personified. She had long, slender legs with elegant curves, perfectly toned and shapely. Even though it wasn't the first time I'd seen her, her world-shattering beauty still made me feel utterly inadequate. At the same moment, I lost my balance and fell to the ground. My body could finally move again. I knew the exchange of beauty for health was complete. Now I'm a hideous cripple. You're my sister? I asked, incredulous. That's right, sis. And I should thank you, my sister said mockingly. Her voice now as melodious as a songbird's. Why would you thank me? I asked, bewildered. Because my looks and health are now 10 times better than my sister's. Luna's silvery laughter echoed in the air, no longer carrying the previous sinister and eerie tone. Even the blades of grass in the villa's courtyard seemed to dance with joy. However, ha 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 ha. My sister's voice reverted to a hoarse, cackling ha ha ha. She frantically raised a hand to cover her mouth, only to freeze in shock as she realized she couldn't move. In her eyes, bright as stars, a glimmer of sacred golden light was reflected. I was enveloped in the golden radiance. 10. Before long, with a soft thud, my sister regained her ability to move. Looking up, she saw the same breathtakingly beautiful face I had witnessed earlier. On that sharply chiseled face, Expressions of jealousy, confusion, shock, anger, and disbelief flickered in rapid succession, a truly spectacular display. Even an actress of Oscar-winning caliber couldn't switch expressions so swiftly and with such genuine emotion. Ding, system notification, exchange failed, host's assets exceed those of the bound target. Ria, ding, as the host has failed to complete the task. The system will now automatically unbind. Good luck and goodbye. No, don't go. I'm begging you. Please don't go. My sister even fell to her knees, clasping her hands together and repeatedly knocking her forehead against the hard floor tiles. In no time, my sister was left battered and bloodied. Her body went limp, as if all her strength had been drained, and she collapsed weakly to the ground. As the bound subject, I naturally heard the system's notification chime, just as I had in my previous life. Sister, of all the things you shouldn't have done, you should never have tried to harm me. You brought this fate upon yourself. My sister's face was a mask of terror. She shook her head, muttering in disbelief. Impossible. It's impossible. I can't be richer than you. You have 88 million, and I'm in debt to loan sharks. I should be the poorer one. I handed a document to Luna. I bought you an 80 million yuan trust. In 50 years, you'll start receiving the returns from the trust fund. Oh, wait. That fund should have vanished the moment you activated the system just now. Just as I suspected, when I checked, the trust was gone. A bank notification had been sitting unread in my messages. I opened it to see an alert for an 800 million yuan deposit. My sister's eyes went wide, her finger trembling as she pointed at me. You knew all along, didn't you? I gave her a radiant smile. Guess, with that, I turned and walked away, leaving my family with nothing but a cool, receding figure, inside the Buick GL8 parked not far away, the moment Kane and the others, waiting in the car, caught sight of my breathtakingly beautiful face. It was as if someone had hit pause. Their jaws dropped and stayed that way. If not for the drool dripping down, you'd have thought it was a still image. Holy shit. Bo yelped in pain as the cigarette but burned his finger, snapping the others out of their daze. Ahem, Captain, Ria looks like she's suddenly gotten a lot prettier. How'd she manage that? Jasper's shout voiced what everyone was thinking. Kane was pretty shocked too, but he put on a serious face. Some things in life you're better off not asking about. 11. Seeing I was about to leave, Luna shouted sharply, Mom, Dad, you can't let her go. It was only then that Vic and Hazel realized their entire fortune was tied to me. In a flash of understanding, they lunged toward me. Instead, they slammed into a solid wall of people and landed hard on their backsides. Kane and the others didn't give them a chance to get near me. Cutting them off immediately, Vic cried out desperately, Ria, I was wrong all these years. Please, forgive your father, won't you, Ria? I know I was wrong. You can't just abandon us. My voice was icy. The moment you let Luna take everything from me, you stopped being my parents. The moment you sold me off to that remote mountain village, you became my enemies. You actually came back. Hazel stared at me in disbelief, as if she'd seen a ghost. Don't come bothering me again, or I won't hold back next time. Oh no, it's all over. Our money. My mother's hysterical shriek rang out behind me. Smack. It's all your fault, you little bitch. If it weren't for you, why would I have mortgaged the villa and taken out a 20 million loan? And you witch, stirring up trouble between me and my daughter. I turned my head and saw only Luna and Hazel on the ground, clutching their faces. You hit me. You dare hit me. The two of them were stunned for a second, then suddenly lunged at Vic, clawing and pulling his hair. Watching the loving family brawl, I got into the car. Let's go, Zoe, we're done here. 12. After returning to my rented apartment and packing up my things, I moved straight into the new luxury apartment I had bought. I didn't like the idea of living alone in a huge, empty villa. The space felt too vast and hollow. I had only enjoyed a few days of peace before I received a call from the court. Hello, Ms. Ria. I'm calling from the Jiangqing XX court. Your father, Vic, and your mother, Hazel, have filed a lawsuit against you, alleging you obtained 88 million yuan of their assets through improper means. You are required to appear in court in 2015. They just won't give up. Fine. If they want a legal battle, they'll get one. I hired the best lawyer to take him to court. He was the one who initiated the transfer, and I have recorded evidence of it. Combined with the voluntary gift note he added to the transaction, Vic Hazel doesn't stand a chance of winning the case. I went back to my hometown, brought my grandmother to live with me so she could enjoy her later years in comfort. We both changed our phones and phone numbers. I want nothing more to do with the Vic family. The 3 members of the Vic family rounded up every aunt and cousin they could find to come after me, but Kane and his crew stopped them all. A month had passed in the blink of an eye. Kane approached me with his team and said, Ria, your security detail contract with our company expires today. I was taken aback for a moment, having only just remembered the arrangement. After spending a month together, I genuinely didn't want to see this sincere and lovely group leave. Why don't you all just come work for my company? Sister Zoe, Tilly, Nina, and Mia were clearly tempted. This was the most relaxed, enjoyable, and downright pleasant protection detail they had ever been assigned, but then they smiled wryly. When has a tiger ever needed a pack of wolves for protection? Miss Rhea could easily handle Captain Kane and his 5 men all by herself. Even Captain Kane could only hold his own for a couple of moves at best. You're telling me you need protection now? Yeah, right. The group exchanged uneasy glances. Finally, Zoe spoke up, scratching her head in embarrassment. Rhea, to be honest, this is the first time my paycheck has ever felt this undeserved. You should really let us protect someone who actually needs it. The others nodded in vigorous agreement, their heads bobbing like woodpeckers. Me, I never imagined Luna's system would be this game-changing. With my health multiplied tenfold, my strength, agility, and stamina have reached unprecedented levels. Watching them leave with such reluctance, I suddenly felt a hollow emptiness in my heart. Kane kept looking back several times, wearing a shy, hesitant expression that left me completely baffled. Just when I thought everything was settled, Vic and Hazel somehow managed to track me down again. It was as if they knew the bodyguard had left. They showed up just as I was about to head out with Grandma. Vic immediately yelled at me, "Rhea, my girl." Hazel then grabbed my arm. "Rhea, Mom and Dad have already apologized. What more do you want? What more do you want?" I snapped, wrenching my hand free from the woman's grasp. "Don't touch me. I don't have a mother as vicious as you." Hazel instantly flew into a rage, her shame turning to anger. "You think I'm vicious? You came from my womb. Who are you to act all high and mighty?" With that, she shoved me hard, clearly intending for me to tumble down the stairs to my death. As my immediate family, they would be perfectly positioned to divide up the inheritance I'd leave behind. I pulled the same old trick. I bent down to tie my shoelace. Hazel gave her grandmother a hard shove. The grandmother tumbled down the stairs, ending up battered and bleeding. The grandmother already had a heart condition, and the brutal fall proved too much. She was pronounced dead before reaching the hospital. Police reviewed the hallway surveillance footage. Hazel was taken into custody on suspicion of intentional homicide. Vic was taken away too, but since he wasn't involved in the shoving at all, he was released shortly after. I hastily arranged my grandmother's funeral, then took her ashes and scattered them evenly into a foul-smelling ditch. Li Shuzhen, I hope you don't mind me burying you in a stinking ditch. After all, you're all cut from the same cloth, birds of a feather, in my previous life. After I escaped from the mountains, I realized the village I had just left was actually not far from my grandmother's house. Stumbling along, I ran to her place and told her everything my parents and sister had done. I thought she would help me call the police to bring all the villains to justice. Instead, she drugged me and called my parents. When the others arrived after hearing the news, I could hardly believe it. My own grandmother, the person I was closest to, had betrayed me without a moment's hesitation. My heart died completely in that moment. I felt not a shred of attachment left for the Vic family. In this life, she sold me out for her son once again, but I couldn't care less. All I wanted to do was shout, "Farewell, Your Majesty, may you ascend to the heavens, be a better person in my next life." When I returned to the apartment complex, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was following me, but every time I looked back, there was no one in sight. Just as I took out my keys to unlock the door, I suddenly heard footsteps behind me. I spun around, only to be knocked unconscious by a heavy blow to the head. When I woke again, I found myself lying on a tattered bed. I knew this bed all too well. In my past life, it was on this very bed that I endured every kind of humiliation, physical torment, mental anguish, and utter despair. Now, in this life, I have returned, but this time, the tables have turned. The pervert Todd's gaze roamed over me without restraint, like a filthy pair of scissors scraping across my skin, filling me with profound discomfort. A slight smile touched my lips. "Hello, Todd. It's good to see you again. Interesting. You know me." Todd's gaze devoured my face, and I knew exactly how much of a temptation it was for him. "I don't see any fear in your eyes. Why aren't you afraid?" As a seasoned deviant, he thrived on the fear of the weak. A victim without fear was as bland to him as a dish cooked without salt. "Why should I be afraid?" I retorted with a smirk. Todd grinned brightly. "Because you have no idea what you're in for." I smiled back, even brighter than him. "Seems you don't know what you're in for, either." With that, I drove my fist into his chest, sending him flying 3 meters back. Todd was sent flying backward like a cannonball. Thud, he slammed into the wall, bounced off, and a visible dent caved in his chest. Pfft. He couldn't hold it back. A mouthful of blood sprayed out. That punch felt like a purification spell. The lust, the perversion, the cruelty, the smug mockery, all of it vanished from Todd's eyes, leaving only pure, unadulterated fear. "Please, I'm begging you, spare me." I shook my head with a smile. "Impossible. In the eyes of this demon, my smile must seem like that of a devil, right?" His voice trembled. "Just make it quick." I shook my head. "No way." He struggled to lift his arm. trying to reach the fallen dagger, but I stomped my foot down on his hand. Asterisk crack, asterisk. The sound of snapping bone echoed. Todd gritted his teeth so hard they nearly shattered, beads of sweat rolling down his forehead, yet he endured without a single cry. He refused to give me even a sliver of vengeful satisfaction, clinging to a dignity that wasn't even there. In the end, he failed. When he was treated in the same manner, Todd became as wretched and pitiful as those he had tormented. He was so loud that I had to stuff a dirty sock in his mouth to turn down the volume. I pulled an all-nighter, from afternoon until the break of dawn the next day. In the end, Todd became nourishment, silently sustaining the flowers and trees across the hills and fields. I picked up my phone, found Luna on WeChat, and sent her a message. Sis, Dad says your mom's child with another man. That's why he ended up siding with me. 2 days later, I saw the news. Woman stabs father 36 times before calmly taking her own life, and so, everyone who wronged me got exactly what they deserved, with more money than I could spend in a lifetime and power beyond human limits. I thought I was beyond wanting anything, until I saw Wonder Woman. Only those who have walked in darkness truly understand the need to light a candle for others. I became a phantom of the night, dismantling one human trafficking ring after another. Rescuing hundreds of women and children whose fates mirrored my own in a past life, I slowly came to realize that the strength of one person alone is never enough. The phone rang. It was Zoe, Rhea, we 1 and 2. They had seen the news reports. The survivors described being saved by a woman as perfect as a fairy. Others might not know who it was, but how could Zoe and the others not figure it out? My eyes lit up instantly. You're more than welcome. Story 2. My roommate secretly brought an e-bike battery to charge in our dorm, and I woke up to flames engulfing the room. As I tried to escape, the roommate who left just before me slammed the door shut, trapping me inside and causing severe burns over most of my body. I was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. My parents had to sell our car and house to cover my medical bills. All 3 roommates falsely claimed I was the one who brought the battery upstairs, after paying me $2,000 each in compensation. They completely cut off contact. In the end, I succumbed to systemic infection and passed away. My grief-stricken parents later took their own lives by gas poisoning at home. Meanwhile, those responsible graduated unscathed, landing good jobs, buying homes and cars, marrying and starting families without a shred of remorse. When I opened my eyes, I'd returned to the days before my roommate brought that damn battery to charge. This time, you'll burn in your own fire. I'm starting a dorm nail salon business between classes. I'll cover 3/4 of the electricity bill. You all can split the remaining quarter. I'll do your nails for free, and treat you to a fancy dinner every month. Deal. The familiar voice, the familiar dorm room, realizing I'd been reborn. The phantom pain from my previous life's burns still lingered. I clutched my pounding chest, gasping for air. Tess came to my bedside cheerfully asking, Zara, the others already agreed to let me run a nail salon in our dorm. You're okay with it too, right? I looked up to see both roommates grinning at me and saying, 1, just say yes, she's covering most of the electricity bill anyway, and she'll keep the place clean. Mia was the type of roommate who always looked for small advantages. In my past life, she's the one who slammed the dorm door shut just as I was trying to escape. I scoffed coldly and said flatly, I disagree. The dorm is for resting, not for you to make money. What if my valuables go missing? Who's going to take responsibility for that? Aura, who had remained silent until now, spoke up. How could you be like this? Tessa's family is struggling as it is. She works part-time jobs whenever she doesn't have classes, rain or shine. It's really tough for her. Now that she can earn some extra money right here in the dorm, just let her do it. What valuables could you possibly have that someone would steal? Sounds to me like you're just jealous of her hustle and bitter about it. Mia got all worked up thinking about how she'd miss out on free manicures if I refused. She snapped at me angrily. Come on, we're all struggling here. Other dorms are running snack stalls with spicy strips. What's the big deal about us doing nails? Tess whined pitifully. Zara, I'm just trying to make some extra cash for living expenses. Why are you always picking on me? I sat cross-armed on my bed and said coldly, no means no. If you dare run this business in our dorm, I'll report you to the school. In my past life, I also thought Tess had it tough, so I agreed to let her run a nail salon business in our dorm. When no classmates came for manicures, she'd set up a street stall to do nails. After saving up from working a while, she bought a beat-up second-hand e-bike. To cut costs, she'd detach the battery and secretly charge it in our dorm room. She took it even further. Whenever someone wanted a manicure, she'd turn on a small light and do their nails in the dorm at 2 or 3 in the morning. It seriously disrupted our sleep and rest. But back then I didn't want to make things awkward since we were classmates, having stared death in the face once. I refused without hesitation, because of my refusal. Tess lost several nail appointment bookings since she could no longer operate her business in the dorm. Another rainy day ruined her part-time gig, driving her into a frenzy back in the dorm. Even setting down a water cup sounded like a thunderclap, and the door slammed shut with a deafening bang. Moping around in tears every day, my other two roommates kept making snide remarks about me. After class, I went to the cafeteria when Jay stormed over and sat across from me, fuming. Zara, why do you always pick on Tess? She just wants to run a nail salon in the dorm. What's it gonna cost you to say yes? I didn't even glance at him, scrolling through videos while eating, occasionally chuckling at funny clips. Jay got even angrier when I ignored him. He took a deep breath and said, Zara, didn't you always want to be my girlfriend? Just let Tess do her nail business in the dorm, and I'll give us a shot. Jay was the whole package, top grades, handsome face. That sunny basketball player vibe, exactly my type. In my past life, I did confess to him multiple times, but got rejected every single time. After I suffered full-body burns, he used a burner account to constantly post on the campus forum, calling me ugly and saying I looked like a monster. Watching him blabber on with that smug look made me sick, so I grabbed the bowl of soup next to me and dumped it on his head. Egg flower petals clung to the tip of his nose as he stared at me in disbelief. He never expected I'd do that. Everyone in the cafeteria froze mid-bite, all eyes locked on Jay. Isn't that the basketball team captain? Got rejected and soup dumped. Priceless, he exploded. Zara, I sneered. If you pity her so much, go fund her lifestyle. Why come flexing fake power here, dating me? Who the hell do you think you are, some crown prince? You're making me sick to my stomach. Someone posted those embarrassing photos of Jay I took on the campus forum, and tons of people roasted him. He started flame wars with them using a burner account. I got a tech guy to dox Jay's real identity and exposed it on the forum. Too chicken to talk trash with your main account. What a pathetic loser. He got so scared he nuked his account overnight, though I didn't approve of Tess running a nail salon in our dorm. The other two roommates still let her do it. When I got back, a classmate was already sitting at Tess's desk filing nails. Tess gave me a cautious look, paused her work, and whispered, Zara, you're back. I bought some fruit for you. It's on your desk. Mia admired her freshly done nails while wearing a face mask. She said, go ahead, Tess. Majority yields to minority anyway. You even kindly bought her fruits. She won't dare make a fuss. Lying on her bed browsing nail designs. Aura chimed in, exactly. It's not bedtime, and we're not in her workspace. What's there to fear? She's not the boss. I'm the dorm leader. The girl doing nails shot me a dirty look and said, this dorm belongs to everyone. Do your thing. Why the hell should you care? Seeing everyone take her side, Tess happily started doing her nails. With a blank expression, I pulled out my phone and dialed the campus complaint hotline. Hello, Professor. I'd like to report that room 109 in the girls' dorm is running a paid nail service, which is seriously disrupting my rest time. Everyone instantly flew into a rage. Zara, how could you do this? Do you not understand that cutting off someone's livelihood is as unforgivable as killing their parents? Damn it, I've long been sick of Zara's disgusting behavior. Seeing my complaint, Tess panicked and hurriedly packed up, telling her classmates to return to the dorm. Too scared to continue, Aura leapt off the bed, yanked my blankets and sheets, and threw them out the window. Go ahead and complain. You think I'm some pushover just because I haven't shown my temper. After yelling, she even threw and ruined my books. She's quite clever, too. Didn't touch my makeup or computer, only went for the cheap essentials. In no time, my desk and bed were reduced to complete wreckage. I wasn't scared either. I shoved her hard, yanked off her bedding and threw it downstairs. Even her favorite sketchbook got torn to shreds. Go ahead, throw it. If you want trouble, I'll see this through to the end. Mia pointed at me and yelled, Zara, we've been civil with you out of respect as roommates, but you keep picking fights and even through Aura's stuff. Today, you're gonna get what's coming to you. Tess tried to intervene, crying, stop fighting. It's all my fault. Wah, shielding Tess behind her, Mia said, you did nothing wrong. Zara's the one to blame. True to her tough attitude, she hurled my laptop at me right after the tirade. I dodged just in time, but it hit the floor and split in two. When she missed hitting me, she grabbed my skincare products and threw them at my feet, so I retaliated by throwing her stuff too. Might as well all go crazy together. The dorm turned into complete chaos as Mia and I got into a physical fight. Her freshly done acrylic nails left deep scratches all over me, the stinging pain making me gasp. The mere thought of her slamming the door in my face last lifetime, worsening my burns, sent me into a rage. I saw red and slapped her repeatedly across the face until her pained wails filled the air. Then I viciously pinched her tender flesh to vent my fury. Ow, it hurts. Let go of me, you bitch. When Aura joined the fight, I was outnumbered and took quite a beating, but I gave as good as I got. Every hit of mine made them howl in pain. Just as the three of us were tangled up wrestling on the ground, the counselor showed up, cursing under his breath. He pulled us apart and took us to the hospital for checkups. How come perfectly nice girls fight worse than boys in a dorm? I'll be calling your parents about today's fight, and deducting credit points too. When the counselor learned Tess's dorm nail salon business caused the fight, her credits got deducted as well. Tess begged the counselor through tears not to deduct her credits. The counselor said sternly, "Your tears won't change anything. This whole mess started because of you. You're responsible for compensating the dormitory damages, and you'll need to have your parents come to the school." Tess immediately knelt before the counselor, pleading, "Please, ma'am, my parents never wanted me to study in the first place. I only did this because they refused to pay my tuition and living expenses. This skill was my only way to earn money for school. If they come here, they'll drag me back home to get married." The counselor asked me, "Zara, what are your thoughts? You've suffered the most in this whole fiasco. You're the real victim here." I said with absolute seriousness, "I won't accept any mediation or apologies. Dorm rooms are for resting, not running businesses. Handle this properly according to the rules. If she gets off easy this time." What's next? Someone opening a hot pot restaurant in their dorm. Dorm trading has always existed, but authorities usually turn a blind eye unless it blows up into a major incident. If things escalate, it means disciplinary actions, standing before the whole school to hear your punishment read aloud. All the dorm residents' parents were summoned to the office for a collective lecture. The other three parents gave them all a thorough scolding, with Tessa's parents being the most severe. Dragging Tess across campus to take her home for forced marriage, forbidding her education. "You disgrace. I told you to marry instead of going to school. Now you've made us a laughingstock, dragging me here. How can I face anyone after this? No more schooling. We found you a husband. You're getting married the moment we get back." Tess sobbed and struggled, her desperate pleas echoing across the school grounds. "Dad, Mom, I don't want to marry. I've done nothing wrong. I just want to earn money, to have a future. I'll graduate in 2 years." She knelt on the ground, kowtowing violently to her parents until her forehead bled. "Mom, Dad, I'm begging you, just 2 more years. I'll graduate and earn money to repay you." Sob, "Please don't make me marry." Tessa's mother spat in disgust and slapped her across the face. 2 years. If you marry now, I could be holding 2 grandchildren by then. No more schooling." Tessa's father hoisted her onto his shoulder and strode toward the school gate. "Let go of Tess." Just then, Jay rushed out and blocked Tessa's parents' path. "I'm Tessa's boyfriend. I won't let you marry her off to another man." I raised an eyebrow at his words. Tess seized the chance to wriggle free from her father's shoulder and hid behind Jay. Tessa's mother exploded with rage, screaming, skipping studies to fool around in the dorm, sneaking around with a boyfriend behind our backs. "Think you're grown now, huh? Too good for discipline. I'll beat some sense into you, you worthless brat." The family's chaotic chase across campus resembled a game of tag, until school officials intervened to mediate, allowing Tess to remain enrolled. After that incident, I requested a dorm transfer from my counselor. After I moved out, only 3 people remained in the original dorm. After about a month, when everyone had forgotten about the whole thing, Tess quietly started her nail salon business in the dorm again. After coming into money, Tess would often treat Mia and Aura to fancy dinners. She'd also flaunt her sweet romance with Jay on the campus bulletin board. Whenever we crossed paths in the cafeteria, they'd strut past me with their noses in the air. I could faintly detect a glimmer of resentment in Tessa's gaze when she looked at me. I pretended not to notice and kept eating the drumstick in my bowl. I saw the large bag at Tess and Jay's feet. It contained the battery they were taking back to the dorm to charge. I'm not going to remind them. Speaking up might just earn me a scolding. Since you love playing these games so much, I hope you can keep gloating for a while longer. I'm kinda curious who's gonna get burned this time. Thankfully my new dorm is 2 buildings away from Tessa's place. Even if a fire breaks out during sleep, it won't reach me. I wasn't looking for trouble, but they had it out for me and came picking a fight. After Aura heard about me splashing soup on Jay last time, she pretended to go get some soup herself. While I wasn't looking, they sneaked up behind me and poured a whole bowl of mung bean soup right over my head. Mia was holding up her phone across from me, laughing hysterically. "Haha, this is hilarious." I turned to Aura with barely contained rage, grinding my teeth as I said, "Looking to get your ass kicked." Aura said smugly, "Oops. My bad. The floor was just too slippery. It was an accident. I already apologized." "You're really gonna report this to the counselor?" Some male classmates snickered creepily. I saw it. Blue lace. He. 3. Suddenly, I looked down and realized my white top had turned translucent, revealing the outline of my chest. I grabbed a book to cover myself, but Aura deliberately blocked my path. With a teasing tone, I said, "You still haven't told me, after my apology." Did you forgive me or not? I chuckled, grabbed a classmate's bowl of soup, and splashed it right onto her chest. Whistling, I remarked, "Wow, you're not wearing anything underneath. Zara, you pervert." Aura quickly covered her chest, blushed, shot me a glare, then turned and sprinted away faster than I could react. Peals of mocking laughter erupted behind me. With a dismissive smirk, I left the cafeteria and returned to my dorm to change. That evening, someone posted photos and videos of me with Aura on the campus forum again. Their filthy comments were downright eye-poisoning. I spent the whole night reporting to get it taken down, and didn't fall asleep until 1 a.m. Half asleep, I heard a commotion. "Get up, there's a fire, help put it out." The word fire triggered me instantly. I sprang out of bed, threw on clothes, and bolted downstairs. As I ran from the building to the playground, thick black smoke kept billowing out of dorm room 109. Aura's piercing scream shattered the silence of the night. "Help, Mia, why did you lock the door?" The tearing sound echoed in my ears as my heart pounded uncontrollably. My whole body trembled, throat parched, fingers clutching desperately at my clothes. The searing pain of being burned alive is something I'll never forget. Even now, standing in this open space with fresh air, watching the black smoke, I can still vividly recall that burning agony from my past life. They're out. They made it out. A ringing filled my ears as I watched medics carrying Aura's charred body on a stretcher. Tess scolded Mia from behind. "How could you slam the door shut when you ran out just now?" Mia's lips trembled, turning pale. Her legs gave way as she reached the playground, collapsing to the ground in tears while shaking her head. I saw the fire chasing after me when I ran out, so I instinctively closed the door. I thought she'd already gotten out before me. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know anything. The surrounding students began berating Mia. "Oh my God, how could you prioritize yourself over someone else's life? If that door had been welded shut, it would have been murder. Just yesterday I heard her badmouthing her former roommate in the cafeteria. What a vile person. You can tell she's rotten to the core. Having a roommate like that is the worst luck imaginable." Exactly. That family should absolutely cover all the medical expenses for the student who got burned. Everyone started ganging up on Mia, and I noticed Tess breathing a sigh of relief. She said gently, "Mia, I know you didn't mean to. We'll visit Aura at the hospital later and explain you just blanked out in the moment. I'm sure she won't blame us. We'll figure out her medical expenses together. Just call your parents now and have them meet us at the hospital," trying to pin all the blame on Mia. "Not on my watch," I stepped forward and demanded. "Our dorms have banned high-wattage appliances for years without a single fire incident. What exactly were you doing in there?" At my words, Tess froze, her face turning deathly pale in an instant. With lips pressed tight and evasive eyes, she muttered, "We didn't do anything. It just caught fire on its own." I scoffed coldly. "You're always doing nails and tinkering with stuff in the dorm. Bet you plugged something into charge." "The teacher's already put out the fire. We'll find out soon enough what really caused it." Tears streamed down Tessa's face as she confronted me furiously. "Zara, I know you hate me, but you can't just accuse me like this. I didn't trap Aura inside. I got burns on my hands too and stayed quiet, yet you're blaming me." I scoffed coldly, watching the teacher descend the stairs before stepping forward to inquire, "Professor, have they determined the cause of the fire? What was the ignition source?" The advisor replied, "The firefighters just inspected upstairs. They concluded it was caused by poor quality dormitory power outlets with clothes piled around them, leading to uneven heat dissipation. That outlet happened to be near Aura's bed. No sign of any battery packs." Jay, who had been standing behind me, suddenly stepped forward and accused me. "Zara, what exactly are you trying to imply? Are you still trying to pin this on Tess? She only uses low-wattage lamps in the dorm, no high-power appliances at all. The firefighters just confirmed it was caused by Aura's faulty power strip, the same old blame-shifting routine." Just as I was racking my brains for answers, I suddenly noticed Jay's fingers. Smirking, I said softly, "Jay, stop playing the white knight for Tess. You might want to get that burn on your hand treated first." Jay clutched his injured palm in shock and dragged Tess away from the scene. After the dorm fire was extinguished, Mia agreed to pay 2,000 yuan in compensation for her actions, out of solidarity with her roommate. Tess also contributed 2,000 yuan. The fire was determined to have been caused by faulty Aura brand power strips. When she woke up, she saw her entire body wrapped in bandages. She wept daily until the doctor warned, "Your face has burns too, no crying. Tears will soak through the fresh dressings and cause infection." Heartbroken yet unable to cry, Aura sank into depression. As their only child, seeing her in this state turned her parents' hair white overnight. With a lingering question in mind, I went specifically to consult our counselor. When the fire broke out, the counselor called for students to help put it out, and soon Jay joined in. After the flames were extinguished, the teacher didn't immediately investigate the source, but first arranged to send Aura to the hospital. By the time the firefighters arrived, The fire had already been put out. While I was arguing with Tess by the playground, Jay came down later with black stains on his hands and burned blisters on his palms. Tess secretly took the battery to charge it in the dorm without Mia and Aura knowing, but in the cafeteria, I clearly saw the battery bag placed right by Jay's feet. I even checked the dorm but didn't spot any trace of the battery. Things are getting interesting. Our current campus is the old one. While classes have been gradually relocating to the new suburban campus, the dormitory surveillance system here is outdated, and we're moving back to the old campus next month where no new cameras were ever installed. The exact cause of the incident couldn't be traced either, but I did record video of them eating in the cafeteria at that time, especially that battery bag placed at Jay's feet. Aura's hospital treatment cost hundreds of thousands in just a few days, forcing them to borrow money everywhere. The school organized donations too, but it was far from enough. With full-body burns requiring daily expensive treatments, skin grafts had to be taken from the parents when donor skin ran out. Money flows like water. With no other options, Aura's parents had to post a help-seeking video online, documenting her condition daily, wrapped up like a mummy with only her eyes visible. She'd lost all her former joy, for she attempted suicide multiple times, unable to bear her own reflection, but her parents stopped her each time. I sent Aura a video from my alt account. Whether she gets it or not is up to her now. The whole school turned against Mia over that door incident. Feeling utterly wronged, she poured her heart out to Tess. Tess, I had no idea she was still asleep. I just wanted to contain the fire before it spread to the hallway. That's why I closed the door. The moment I heard her screams, I opened it immediately. Why is everyone blaming me? I got burns on my back too, yet they're calling me a murderer. Sobs. Instead of comforting her, Tess retorted, I was the only one who made it out. You should have grabbed Aura's hand when you had the chance. Mia froze, glaring at Tess in outrage. You're blaming me too. This whole mess was caused by her faulty plug. How is any of this my fault? Come on, that's not fair. We only got slightly burned. But Aura suffered full-body burns. You can't claim you're completely blameless here. If it were me, I'd own up to my mistakes instead of shifting blame like this. Mia, I used to think you were just a bit stingy, but now I see you really are. Let's not see each other anymore. Tess's move undoubtedly threw Mia into the court of public opinion. The campus bulletin board was flooded with posts about her. Photos of me fighting with Mia got leaked. Clear photos of her smashing my laptop and destroying my $1,000 skincare products are posted on the campus bulletin board. Hashtag Mia get out of our school. Hashtag bullying roommate. Hashtag murderer. Hashtag Mia stole from the campus store. OMG, Mia's involved in shady work outside school. Countless rumors about Mia flooded the campus forums trending page, with absurd accusations piling up against her. Burning with curiosity, I asked my tech-savvy friend to trace the source of those defamatory posts. Turned out it was that Jay again, being the good Samaritan. I anonymously forwarded the info to Mia via a burner account. That same day, she stormed into the boys' dorm with a knife looking for Jay. I was still memorizing vocabulary when I put on my headphones and could still hear screams and commotion from the boys' dorm. Videos from the boys' dorm went viral across campus, and I clicked on one to watch. The footage showed Jay hiding in the bathroom wearing just boxers, while Mia wildly slashed at the toilet door with her knife. Jay, if you've got the guts to spread rumors about me, why won't you face me? Come out right now. How dare you accuse me of clucking like a chicken? Sobs, what did I ever do to you? Show yourself. I swear I'll kill you. The video, shot from a neighboring building, shows Jay trembling behind the bathroom window, clutching his chest in silent terror. The Aura incident had been eating away at her for far too long. Jay's rumor became the final straw. She channeled all that pent-up rage into pure fury, kicked the bathroom door open in a few stomps, then immediately stabbed Jay in the shoulder with the knife. Speak up. Why spread rumors about me? What did I ever do to you? Even at the lowest volume, the accusatory shouts still made my ears ring. Being an athlete after all, Jay wrestled control of the knife, kicked Mia to the ground, and bolted out of the dorm. Both teachers and police officers arrived. The police took Mia to the station while Jay was rushed to the emergency room. The school's recent turmoil has left students on edge. Tess moved out of the dorm and rented a small stall at the night market, doing manicures between classes, still posting her artwork on social media, living her best life as usual. It really grinds my gears, but no matter, revenge is a dish best served cold. Gotta take it slow and steady. Mia's parents paid Jay 10,000 yuan to keep her out of jail. But when Aura found out about this, it didn't sit right with her. She decided to sue Mia for her ongoing medical expenses, dragging both families into a messy legal battle. Mia dropped out of school over this. Aura took a leave of absence. While I doubled down on my studies and Tessa's life kept getting better, I often visit my parents when I have free time. The thought of how my parents suffered in their later years because of me and my past life fills me with deep remorse. Tess made good money running a nail art stall and built an online following of tens of thousands, earning thousands in monthly ad revenue, a real success story of student entrepreneurship. She bought a used Toyota worth 50,000 yuan on installments. That day when I was returning to campus, her car happened to splash through a puddle right beside me. Muddy water splashed all over me. She stopped at a distance, stepped out with an apologetic smile. "Zara, I'm so sorry. Still getting used to this new car and didn't mind the speed. Let me pay for your outfit as an apology." "Okay, what a phony," flaunting it right in front of me. I wiped the water off with a tissue and chuckled. "No need, it's just a little splash. Maybe you should practice your driving skills before hitting the road again. This time it's just water, but next time you might actually kill someone. That'd be a real problem." Jay got out of the passenger seat, clearly irritated as he spoke to me. "Damn Zara, you're so vicious. If you're jealous that Tess bought a car, just say it. No need to curse people, shows what trashy upbringing you had." I gave Jay a once-over and sneered. "What's your deal? Playing the pathetic boyfriend every damn day? Be a man for once, stop mooching off women. Your girlfriend bought the car first while you're just dead weight. Who the hell are you to lecture me, you freeloader?" My words utterly crushed Jay's pride, sending him into a furious tirade. I kept provoking him. "Keep being a deadbeat and your girlfriend will dump you. What's the point of cursing at me?" Our argument at the school gate drew the guard's attention, who asked Tess to move her car for disrupting campus decorum. She had no choice but to drag Jay away from me, and he stormed off to the car seething with anger. "I'm not making baseless accusations here. Tess is such a scheming woman. Now that she's made money, she's become downright trashy. Of course, once people get money, their mindset changes. I even saw her sneaking into a lounge bar with some young stud. The flirting was so cringy I couldn't even look. They even checked into a nearby hotel together, while Jay was obliviously napping at school like a fool. Little did he know his girlfriend had been cheating on him for ages. I figured calling her out now wouldn't do much damage, so I bit my tongue. Time flew until graduation, when Tess opened a nail and eyelash salon, strategically located in a high-traffic area. Young women were willing to splurge on themselves, so she hired a few more nail technicians. The shop was packed from opening till closing every day. I landed a job at a Fortune 500 state-owned enterprise near home, enjoying home-cooked meals by my parents right after work. I was brimming with happiness that year, completely forgetting about my plans for revenge. It wasn't until the class reunion the following year when I saw Tess that I realized there was still one major thing I hadn't done. Tess had upgraded to a new Audi compact, and Jay tagged along as her boyfriend. At the dinner table, I couldn't resist asking a mischievous question. "You've been dating for years, since college. How come you're still not married?" Jay shot me an awkward glare and snapped. "None of your business," Tess smiled and said. "The shop's swamped right now. We'll think about marriage when things settle down. We're still young, no rush, busy enough to date a different guy every month." Tess walked over with a drink, smiling as she said, "Zara, I know you have some reservations about me, but I genuinely want to be friends. Care for a toast, with all our classmates watching." Tess stood there with this "I'm not leaving until you drink" look. I raised my glass toward her and downed it in one go. Tess sipped her drink contentedly before returning to her seat, barely concealing her smug satisfaction. I scoffed inwardly, glancing at the cup on the table. Then I leisurely ate my meal, occasionally exchanging a few words with classmates. Tess kept stealing glances at me. As time ticked by, she checked her phone repeatedly, a flicker of impatience crossing her face. I wiped my mouth with a napkin and told the person beside me, "I'm going to the restroom." I stepped out and hid in the corner, then Tess followed right after, heading straight for the restroom. After waiting a while, I returned to the private room to continue dinner with my classmates. About 10 minutes later, commotion broke out outside. "Help, help." Tess's cries for help reached us. When we stepped outside, we saw her standing there disheveled as a man bolted out of the women's restroom. Jay immediately rushed to check on Tess. "Tess, what happened to you?" Tess leaned into Jay's arms, her eyes locked on me. I responded with a faint smile. Furious, she trembled with clenched teeth and dug her fingers into Jay's shoulders, making him yelp in surprise. "It's okay, Tess, I'm right here with you." Her classmates urged her to report it to the police, but Tess was too afraid. She just said it was a flasher who didn't actually harm her, so she'd rather let it go. 5. I saw through this cheap trick ages ago. I secretly swapped out my cup and drink for new ones. Tess paid the waiter to spike my drink with aphrodisiacs, hoping to humiliate me in front of our classmates. Seeing I'd drunk it, she followed me to the restroom to witness the spectacle firsthand. Little did she know, the man she'd planted there mistook her for me when she followed. He assaulted Tess instead, since she hadn't consumed the spiked drink. She managed to fight him off and escape after some groping. The guy bolted before anyone could react. After the party, Tess came to me alone, dropping her act and showing her true colors. "Didn't expect you to see through me, Zara. One day I'll make sure you pay for this." Watching her twisted expression, I said calmly, "You'll never get the chance." We lost touch again for a long time after that, with only a few classmates occasionally chatting in the group. When Tess secretly went out to meet her other lovers. I discreetly sent Jay the videos and addresses, but at first he didn't believe me and was too afraid to investigate. Over the next several times, I sent him different addresses each time, and the men with Tess in the videos were never the same person, until photos surfaced of them kissing in front of the bubble tea shop. Jay finally gathered his boys to catch them red-handed. Barging into the hotel to find the two completely naked, furious, Jay confronted Tess. "So you turned down my proposal because you've got another man on the side." With her secret exposed, Tess dropped the act and humiliated Jay to his face. "Pfft, you live off me. What exactly would I gain by marrying you? Keeping you around was already a favor, but you had to make a scene. Fine, since you found out, let's break up." "I forbid it." Jay kept pestering her stubbornly until Tess, fed up, had him beaten half to death. By the time he was discharged from the hospital, news reached him that Tess had married someone else. He rushed to the wedding and begged Tess on his knees not to marry, only to be humiliated on the spot by both the groom and Tess. Stripped of all dignity, a deranged Jay blurted out the truth. "Tess, you ungrateful bitch, remember when you secretly charged that battery in the dorm and burned your roommate? I was the one who covered for you by disposing of the evidence. And this is how you repay me. Have you no conscience? You're just a worn-out shoe I've used up. Abortions left your endometrium too thin to ever bear children. Handsome, you really want this kind of woman. What's so great about her petty cash?" The moment Jay spoke, the guests erupted with excitement. Tess had invited many of their former classmates. As soon as Jay burst in, several classmates immediately pulled out their phones to record. Someone instantly forwarded Jay's words to Mia and Aura. The two of them had been locked in legal battles for years, completely drained by the endless feud. Aura had the bandages removed and survived, but the hideous burn scars made him too ashamed to face the world. When she learned Tess was the one responsible for her condition, she ignored the stares and ran out of her house for the first time to confront Tess. Mia had taken the fall for Tess for years, and the psychological toll finally pushed her to demand answers from Tess. Unable to find Tess, they trashed her shop and smashed her brand new BMW to pieces. The three of them teamed up to ambush Tess, eventually cornering her in a hotel. Blinded by rage, they beat Tess so severely she suffered a brain hemorrhage, leaving the young woman paralyzed for life. Tess's parents had long disowned her after a bitter falling out, so no one came to her aid, having caused her injuries. The trio took responsibility for Tess's lifelong care, yet this care was a constant torment to Tess. Watching them torture each other filled me with grim satisfaction. And, Story 2, at our coming-of-age ceremony, the flower goddess gifted my sister and me 2 companion blossoms. She promised we could attain immortality by nurturing them with devotion and forming bonds with their spirits. My sister immediately claimed the abyssal black lotus, foremost among ancient divine lotuses, leaving me with the stubbornly unyielding golden merit lotus. Little did she know the abyssal black lotus, though easier to cultivate, was equally prone to betraying its master. On the very night of their spiritual pact, he gouged up my sister's golden core and fled to the demon realm to become its king. After 3 centuries nourishing the sacred lotus with my heart's blood, he finally formed a bond with me, and I ascended to Buddhahood. Consumed by jealousy, my sister lied about our mother's illness. When I returned home, she poisoned me with spirit-bane herbs. They locked me in a dungeon for 7 days of torment until I bled out my last. When I opened my eyes again, it was the day we obtained our companion flowers. My younger sister snatched my flower, but I didn't chase after her. Little did she know, those 2 divine lotuses would later compete to claim me as their master. "Sister, let me be the one to nurture the golden lotus." My sister snatched the golden lotus from my hands, its razor-sharp thorns slicing my fingertips. Drops of blood trickled down the petals into the pistil, vanishing without a trace. The flower goddess on the high throne frowned. "Emrys, this virtuous golden lotus is difficult to awaken and bond with. It requires daily nourishment from heart's blood. Can your body endure this?" Clutching the lotus desperately, my sister pleaded, "Goddess, the black lotus only needs purified fingertip blood to awaken and spiritual energy to sustain it. My sister's constitution is far weaker than mine. I can't bear to see her suffer." Her words would have moved me to tears. "Had I not been reborn, you'll surely be moved by my sister's acting. My sister and I are princesses of the butterfly spirit clan. Butterfly spirits have limited innate cultivation and must draw spiritual energy from their symbiotic flowers. Superior symbiotic flowers harbor floral spirits. By awakening these spirits, gaining their allegiance, and forming a cultivation bond through dual cultivation, butterfly spirits can achieve rapid spiritual advancement. Some may even ascend to immortality. On the day my sister and I came of age, the flower goddess visited and presented us with 2 lotuses. One was an abyssal black lotus grown in the swamps of hell, revered as the foremost of ancient divine lotuses. Steeped in dark energy yet overflowing with spiritual power, it required minimal nourishment and was easily awakened. 1. The other was a golden lotus of virtue cultivated before the Buddha. The golden lotus of merit demands daily nourishment with heart's blood. Even when awakened, its spirit rarely submits to a master, though its spiritual energy pales against the black lotus vigor. It excels in purity. In our past life, the moment the flower deity finished introductions, my sister eagerly claimed the black lotus. She tended to that black lotus with relentless devotion, sharing meals and even her bed, within days. The Black Lotus was awakened by the younger sister and immediately pledged allegiance, demanding to form a spiritual contract with her. Struck by his extraordinary appearance, the younger sister agreed without hesitation. That very night during their first dual cultivation ritual, the Black Lotus ripped out the elder sister's golden core with his bare hands and devoured it, after consuming half the golden cores of the entire butterfly spirit clan. He fled to the demon realm and crowned himself the demon king. Mother had to use our clan's sacred treasure just to save my sister's life, but after losing her core, the spirit butterfly could barely maintain her human form with what little spiritual power remained. Having chosen the golden lotus, I secluded myself in the back mountains to focus on nurturing it. This very act allowed me to evade the black lotus's deadly strike. After feeding golden lotus my heart's blood for 3 centuries, I finally awakened it. Though fragile, golden lotus was even more delicate than my own constitution. To better nurture it, I scoured the lands for rare elixirs, roaming the world with golden lotus in tow. During our travels, I witnessed countless acts of bullying the weak and monstrous creatures preying on common folk. As a fragile little butterfly spirit with barely any magic power, my instinct was always to avoid such troubles. But golden lotus would force me to handle these matters every time I tried to flee. Gradually, my powers grew stronger and my reputation spread far and wide. It wasn't until I heard Black Lotus had captured an entire city's population, planning to refine elixirs with 10,000 human hearts. Without a second thought, I stormed into the netherworld to confront him, only to realize I stood no chance against him. Black Lotus left me critically wounded, on death's doorstep. Golden Lotus finally formed a soul pact with me to save my life. The covenant was sealed, and I ascended to Buddhahood. My sister grew mad with jealousy upon hearing this. She deceived me, claiming our mother was dying and wished to see me one last time. After I returned to the Butterfly Spirit Clan, she tricked me into drinking spirit-suppressing herb to seal my powers. They dragged me to the forbidden grounds of the Butterfly Spirit Clan, bound me with immortal binding ropes, and tortured me for 7 days and nights. Zephyr, let the black lotus be your companion flower then. Its dark aura runs deep. You must purify it thoroughly before awakening. The flower goddess's voice snapped me out of my memories. I glanced at my younger sister. With a smug expression, she said to me, "Sister, the black lotus brims with potent spiritual energy. With its power, you're bound to ascend to immortality. While I may never awaken this golden lotus, when you reach the heavens, don't you dare forget about me. Don't worry, I'll remember." But the golden lotus has a heart harder than stone. You think ascension is that easy? Think again. After the flower goddess departed, my younger sister couldn't wait to bid farewell to our mother and immediately retreated to the back mountains for seclusion. Mother instructed me to take the black lotus and purify its sinister aura first. I agreed verbally, but secretly brought the black lotus straight to my chamber. I carelessly placed it on the table and had a maid fetch me a bowl of pig's blood. 2 drops fell upon it. The blood seeped into the black petals, quickly merging as one. After days of continuous dripping, the black lotus soared into the air, emitting an eerie glow. The dark mist coalesced, materializing into a figure clad in black. He landed on the ground, approached me, and knelt on one knee. "It was your blood that awakened me. From now on, you shall be my master." Callum's face was strikingly handsome, and his smile could topple cities. I pointed at the coagulated pig's blood and said, "It wasn't my blood that woke you. Your master's in the pigpen out back." Callum paused for a few seconds before smiling again. "It's all right. Flower spirits choose their own masters. Our meeting is fated. From now on, you shall be my master." I stood there in silence. Callum stepped forward and grasped my hand, declaring earnestly, "Master, I fell for you at first sight. Please form a spiritual contract with me." Staring into his eyes, I replied coldly, "You don't want a contract. You're after my core energy, aren't you, Sixth Prince?" At my words, Callum steadied himself, his smile taking on a sinister edge. "My disguise is peerless. Even the flower goddess couldn't spot any flaws. How did you uncover my true identity?" Callum was never the netherworld Black Lotus to begin with. He's the illegitimate son of the Ghost King and the Tiger King. No one has ever seen his true form. They say he looks neither like a ghost nor a demon. Though addressed as the Sixth Prince, Callum lived worse than a common specter in the underworld. Without a ghost's essence or a demon's core, everyone called him a monster. Callum disguised himself as an umbral black lotus solely to steal our spirit butterfly's core. If he consumes 99 demon cores from different races, He'll transform into a true demon. Before I could respond, hands closed around my throat. Since you know why I'm here, hand over your core willingly. I promise to make this quick and painless. I remained composed despite the choking grip, neither submissive nor defiant. Not only do I know you came for my butterfly spirit clan's core, I know exactly why. In my memories, my sister's core was the first one Callum consumed. The first step in his descent into darkness. You want to fully transform into a demon, become the demon king, and make all those spirits and demons who look down on you regret it, don't you? The grip around my neck loosened slightly. I continued. I know another way to make them regret it. After a moment, Callum released his hold. What's your plan? Let's hear it. I cleared my throat and downed a glass of water in one gulp. Listen. This whole devouring demon course to become a monster shtick is beyond cliche. Your dad's the ghost king. Your brother's the ghost king, your mom's the demon queen. Even if you become some terrifying great demon king, so what? They'll still look down on you because they've all been there. If you want real respect, you've got to accomplish something they never could. Callum stood there completely bamboozled. What can't they achieve? I chuckled while holding my teacup. Callum, want to attain immortality? I could teach you, be it human, demon, or spirit. All can ascend to immortality. The path is just extraordinarily difficult. After all, it's easy to turn bad, but staying good is the real challenge. Callum scoffed, teaching me immortality. You're not even immortal yourself, I said leisurely. Our butterfly spirit clan has produced the most ascended immortals among all spirit races. Though I'm not one yet, I know the shortcuts. When it comes to things like this, finding the right approach is what matters most. To my surprise, after all my earnest persuasion, Callum actually decided to give it a try. I laid down 3 ground rules with him: recite the Diamond Sutra daily, perform 1 good deed each day, only virtuous acts, no wrongdoing. Callum agreed without hesitation. After hearing Callum had been awakened by me, my younger sister came running from the back hills the very next day. The first thing she asked me was when I planned to form a spiritual bond with Callum. I told her I wasn't ready to bond with Callum yet. I wanted to travel with him to gain experience and save the common people. What does the outside world have to do with us? My sister, pale from daily heart blood extraction, protested. Sister, you can't be serious. Without bonding, you'll never enhance your spiritual power. You should form the bond sooner, ascend faster, and bring honor to our mother. Her apparent concern made it seem to outsiders like she was breaking her back over my affairs. Only I knew she wanted me to form a bond with Callum, watching me march to my doom. Even mother thought my actions absurd. This is madness. Now that you've awakened the flower spirit, stop playing the hero. Forming the bond and cultivating together is the true path. Not a single spirit from our butterfly clan has ascended to immortality since mother took leadership. That's why she's pinned all her hopes on us. I reassured my mother. Mother, I'm not doing this for fun. Callum is deeply suspicious and brimming with dark energy. Even a blood pact couldn't bind his will. It might backfire. I want to build genuine affection between us. With emotional connection, even the most wicked flower becomes easier to tame. Convinced by my words, mother granted me permission to descend the mountain for training. Several days later, Callum and I made our way down the mountain together. Initially, he followed my instructions with surprising compliance. After doing several good deeds yet still being misunderstood, he grew furious and clamored to return to being a wicked monster. At times like these, I would simply spread my hands. Go ahead if you must. Committing one evil act is easy, but remember, a single misdeed erases the credit for 99 good ones. Sometimes the monster was simply more than he could handle. I'd encourage him by saying, "You did great. Even though you didn't win, that monster didn't get the upper hand either." Callum's just like a little kid. He only keeps going with constant praise and coaxing. We've spent 20 years together, but they were just minor demons we dealt with. Some remembered us, while others died before they could. Just then, news came from the Butterfly Spirit clan. My younger sister was about to bond with her flower spirit. Such an important occasion couldn't go without her elder sister. The news caught me off guard. It took me 3 centuries to awaken that person, and 6 more to form a pact with him, yet my sister achieved it in less than 20 years. No wonder Jet said we were destined to meet but not to be. This is what true fate looks like. I remained sullen the entire way home. Noticing my mood, Callum teased, "You're so grumpy. Could it be you're jealous of your sister's bonding ceremony? If you're that desperate, I could always bond with you instead." I shot him a glance. Got a crush on me? Callum's ears turned red instantly as he snapped. In your dreams, after half a month's journey, we finally returned to Butterfly Spirit Vale. Mom prepared a welcome dinner for both of us. My younger sister came with Jet too. "Sis, how have you been lately?" I smiled and replied, "Not bad. Word has it you and your flower spirit have been doing good deeds everywhere. Your reputation precedes you," my sister said to Callum, a glint of murder in her eyes while proudly adding, "Jet and I have formed a pact. We're heading down the mountain soon." The foothills are dangerous, be careful, little sister. My gaze instinctively flickered toward Jet, clad in white robes. His tender gaze rested entirely on my sister. This version of Jet feels completely foreign to me. Jet once told me he'd long since abandoned all human emotions. Seems my little sister holds a special place in his heart. That's why they formed their bond so quickly. That's right. But Jet promised he'll definitely protect me, my sister replied with a triumphant smile. The moment my sister finished speaking, voices of agreement immediately rose around her. They spoke of celestial omens when Jet awakened. Even the flower goddess was drawn to the scene, declaring Jet the most extraordinary floral spirit she'd ever witnessed. Others whispered how Jet showed particular tenderness toward my sister, their bond radiating profound devotion. I sat listening to these words, my appetite completely gone. Callum suddenly leaned in and whispered, "Don't listen to their nonsense. I'm the strongest one here." Midway through the meal, I started feeling lightheaded. I rose to take my leave. My sister suddenly channeled her energy toward me. "Elder sister, you've been down the mountain so long. Your spiritual power must have grown. Show me how strong you've become." Barely dodging the attack, I realized I was completely drained of strength. Turning to Callum, I saw he'd already passed out in his seat. My sister's strikes were swift and precise. She'd clearly come prepared. The elders watched the spectacle, praising my sister's extraordinary spiritual prowess. She pummeled me relentlessly until I collapsed on the ground. My younger sister arched an eyebrow. "You're so weak, sis." With that, she swung her palm toward me. I knew there was no dodging it. Close your eyes. But the pain never came. Jet and White stepped between us, giving a light push that sent my sister flying into a pillar. My sister paled. "Jet, what are you doing?" Jet spat out 5 words. "Hand over the antidote." Having just stolen the spotlight with so many eyes on her, the younger sister naturally refused to admit her victory was unfairly won. She cooed in a sugary voice, "Jet, what antidote are you talking about? I don't understand." With a flick of his wrist, Jet sent the antidote box flying out from his sister's sleeve. He bent down to hand it to me, and I murmured my thanks. Jet stood up, shot his sister a glance, then turned on his heel and left. The message was clear. He despised his sister's underhanded tactics. The younger sister hurried after him, forcing an ingratiating smile. "Don't be mad, Jet. I was just teasing our sister." Jet replied coldly, "Your malice remains. We'll postpone the master bonding ritual until you're ready." Her face went pale. "No, please, I'll copy the Diamond Sutra 100 times, I swear." Murmurs spread through the crowd. They whispered how Emery's methods were so underhanded. No wonder the flower spirit refused to bond with a master. That's when it hit me. Jet still hadn't chosen a master. With my past life's memories, how could I have missed my sister drugging my drink? I let it slide because I needed to know if Jet was still the same Jet, born at the feet of Buddha. How could his eyes tolerate even a speck of dust? Yet I can't help feeling sorrowful. Jet remains unchanged. Even if this person rots into mud, he'd never give up. To him, spending a lifetime saving multitudes is no different from devoting it to just one soul. I swallowed the antidote and handed another one to Callum. When Callum realized he'd been drugged, he flew into a rage and swore to kill his sister. I asked him, "Are you sure? If you kill her, you'll never become an immortal." "So be it." Callum smashed his cup on the ground. "What's so great about being an immortal? All these restrictions. Can't do this, can't do that. I'd rather be a demon. You keep saying you want to be a monster. Ever seen a monster without a core?" I was so frustrated that the hurtful words just slipped out, immediately regretted it and wanted to make amends, but didn't get the chance. Callum stormed off in anger. "Let me show you how to make an inner elixir right now." I got up to chase after them, only to find my sister standing outside. When I opened the door, she was holding gifts, asking how I was doing, saying she came to visit me. My sister acted completely natural, as if she hadn't been the one who drugged me. I glared at the pile and sneered, "No poison this time, I hope. You've always had such a dark sense of humor." My sister lifted her chin. "Jet said immortality requires abstaining from killing and accumulating good deeds. That's why you've been taking Callum out to do charity work, isn't it? This is the only path to immortality. To become divine, one must uphold righteousness and compassion, endure what others cannot bear, and forgive all who have wronged you." My sister smiled again. "But even in performing virtuous deeds, celestial favor matters. Some may do 100 good deeds yet never attain immortality without divine grace, while those blessed need only one," I said. "So you found that person, sister. May your ascension come swiftly." My sister rose. "Sister, Jet has agreed to form our spiritual bond in 3 days. You simply must come." My sister is gone. I sat there for so long my back went numb, until Callum returned. He tossed me a bag of candied chestnuts, my absolute favorite snack. I looked up at him. "Weren't you supposed to hunt for inner elixirs? How come you brought back chestnuts instead?" 3, Callum said stubbornly. "None of those elixirs were worth my time." Being an immortal suits me better anyway. I couldn't help but chuckle. After a pause, Callum turned to me. Zephyr, when are we leaving? I've still got merits to accumulate, I replied. 3 days later, my sister and Jet's bonding ceremony was magnificent. Callum and I stood among the butterfly spirits. The nearby butterfly spirits were whispering about several missing clan members recently, warning everyone to stay indoors after dark. My sister spotted me instantly. She pulled me onto the stage. Sis, actually I should thank you for letting me have Jet. You deserve the front row. I declined politely. I tried to leave, but she gripped my arm tightly. Zephyr, I know you've been reborn too. Must be eating you up inside. Ha, it took you 9 centuries to win him over, but I did it in just 20 years. Now watch closely as I show you how your beloved ends up with me. Those words froze me in place. The ceremony began with my sister standing there, waiting for Jet to kneel before her. Her smirk grew even more triumphant, but no one expected what came next. Under everyone's gaze, Jet walked straight toward me and dropped to his knees. Master, he called out to me. The room fell silent for a moment before my sister snapped. Jet, what are you doing? I took a step back, my voice hoarse as I said, you've got the wrong person. Jet kept staring at me and shook his head. No mistake. I want Zephyr to be my master, my sister snapped. Jet, are you toying with me? It was my heart's blood that awakened you, my daily devotion that sustained you. How dare you choose her now? Jet glanced at her coolly. First, a flower spirit chooses its own master. Second, it was Zephyr's fingertip blood that roused me. I froze, remembering my sister's bleeding finger when she snatched the flower that day. I turned to look at Jet again. Those crystal clear eyes laid bare their feelings for me without reservation. A daring thought flashed through my mind. Perhaps Jet had been reborn too. The suspicion was soon confirmed. Zephyr, I remember everything, our past life together, but you didn't choose me, and I was furious. I waited for you to wake me, yet you never came. When I finally awoke on my own, they told me you'd already left with Callum. That's why I agreed to bond with Emery's. I wanted to give you the silent treatment again, but when I heard you were leaving once more, I couldn't bear it. Jet closed the distance between us. Zephyr, I want to pledge myself to you now. Will you accept me? So he'd been angry with me all along. His kindness toward Emery's was just an act. This was unmistakably the Jet from my memories. I took a few steps back. I wanted to say no, but this was Jet standing right in front of me, just as I was at a loss. Callum ascended onto the stage. He stepped in front of me. Hey man, she's my master, not yours. We've already formed a pact. Jet wasn't fooled by such a cheap trick. Jet frowned at me. Choose between him and me. I chose Callum. I practically fled in panic, dragging Callum with me until we'd run a good distance before stopping. When we finally halted, Callum studied me with a grave expression for what felt like ages. Suddenly he asked, the real reason you've refused our soul bonding ritual? It's not about hindering my ascension, but him, isn't it? I couldn't lie to Callum, though Jet wasn't the whole reason either. Only after my ascension did I learn the truth. The bond between butterfly spirits and flower spirits wasn't formed because butterfly spirits lacked cultivation power and needed their floral counterparts' energy. The real reason was an ancient curse that forever barred butterfly spirits from achieving immortality. To break this celestial limitation, the butterfly immortals devised a solution, finding destined companion flowers blessed with immortal potential. The spiritual pact between them was essentially an exchange of destinies. On the day of a butterfly spirit's ascension, the bonded flower spirit would endure the heavenly tribulation in their place, bearing the wrath of the heavens, turned to ashes in the wind. That's the same reason Jet refused to form a bond with me in our past life. Every existence in this world follows a preordained destiny. By celestial decree, Callum is destined to become a calamitous demon lord. Where there's a great demon, there must be a Buddha, and Jet is that Buddha, beloved by the Buddha himself. Jet is destined for enlightenment, but the path demands trials, like the trial of love. I am Jet's trial of love. I was destined to be the final obstacle in Jet's path to enlightenment. By fate's design, I was meant to die by Callum's hand, until Jet awakened, slew Callum, and achieved Buddhahood in that very moment. But in our past lives, Jet ultimately formed a soul bond with me and swapped our destinies. That's why I attained Buddhahood in the end, not celestial immortality. Jet turned to ashes because of me. After attaining enlightenment, I understood the truth of everything. I knelt before Buddha, willing to sacrifice everything to bring Jet back. Buddha struck me with divine lightning for my impure mind, hoping to awaken me. That's precisely why my sister could easily subdue me with the soulbane herb. Given the second chance at life, I won't stand by and watch Jet die in my place again. If I'm truly Jet's destined heartbreak, then avoiding him altogether should break the cycle. As for Callum, I feel a bit guilty. Callum is also part of Jet's tribulation. When I took him on those trials, I never truly intended for him to attain immortality. How could a blood-stained demon from his past life ever deserve ascension? Every monster I made him slay was actually a trial Jet needed to overcome. My job is to help Jet deal with the demon Callum. Killing isn't the only solution. Turning the world's worst demon into a decent man, that works too, still counts as solving the problem. That's why Callum's demonic powers haven't improved one bit in 20 years. Even if Jet fought him, he'd definitely win. I've kept at this for 20 years. I just never expected Jet would agree to form a pact with my sister. So even if Jet refuses to acknowledge me as master, I'm prepared to ruin this ritual. I never told Callum about these things, just made up some excuse to brush it off. Callum's so easy to fool, he believes whatever I say. After Callum and I left, I heard my sister beg Jet to bond with her, but he refused. That was the day Jet left the Butterfly Spirit clan. Hearing this, I breathed a sigh of relief. The heavenly Tao had already orchestrated everything. All I needed to do was die at the crucial moment. That was also the day Callum and I prepared to leave the Butterfly Spirit clan. My sister surrounded us with a group of clansmen. Every weapon was pointed at Callum. My sister declared, "This man is no flower spirit. He's the Ghost King's son. He slaughtered our people and stole their inner cores." Amidst the rising accusations, the truth finally dawned on me. Many butterfly spirits from our clan have gone missing recently, and when found, their inner cores had all been ripped out. What nonsense are you spouting? When did I ever consume their cores? Callum stood back to back with me, defending himself before meeting my gaze. Zephyr, believe me, I truly didn't, but my younger sister countered. I heard you say it with my own ears that day. You are going to steal their cores. How dare you deny it? Today we'll avenge the fallen butterfly spirits. The group swiftly launched their attack toward us. The butterfly spirits possess modest spiritual power. Though Callum hadn't enhanced his abilities in years, he still far surpassed them in strength. After just a few exchanges, all the assailants lay defeated on the ground. Callum frowned at his sister who'd been intent on killing him moments ago. Pressing his weapon against her throat as he turned to me, she framed me deliberately. Eliminating her wouldn't count as killing an innocent. Surely this won't hinder my path to immortality. I knew Callum well. If he'd truly slain those butterfly spirits, he wouldn't have denied it. The fact that my sister knew every detail proves she's involved in this. Remembering my past life, I realized my sister was nothing but trouble. I said, "Kill her." Callum raised his paw excitedly, licking his lips. "Then I'll get started." My hand froze midair as my younger sister burst into laughter, still dreaming of ascension. "Callum, do you know why Zephyr refused your bond? Did you truly believe she wanted to elevate you? She's using you as a stepping stone for her beloved. Surely you know immortality requires celestial favor, which you lack. Callum, your only purpose is to die by Jet's hand and fuel his transcendence." By the time I tried to stop her, she'd already spilled the whole truth. Callum stood stunned for several heartbeats before turning to me. "Is what she said true?" I've never seen Callum this heartbroken before. His whole body was trembling, yet he was desperately trying to hold himself together. I knew if I denied it now, Callum would force himself to believe me anyway. The words caught in my throat. My silence provoked him. Callum laughed with bloodshot eyes. "So that's how it is, Zephyr. You always hated me killing, didn't you? Well, today I'll show you exactly how it's done." Callum grabbed a bystander, veins bulging as his entire body trembled with rage. I shouted, "Callum, stop. If you kill someone, there's no coming back from that." Callum shot me an icy glare. In the end, he held back from delivering the killing blow. He went berserk, smashing everything around him before soaring into the sky. "Zephyr, I hate you. Next time we meet, I swear I'll kill you." Callum is gone. I turned to face my sister and drew a dagger from my robe. "Since we've both been reborn, there's no need for explanations. Your existence is a curse upon this world. Today I'll end it. Given our current spiritual power levels, my sister stands no chance against me." When my eyes opened again, but when I attacked her, she effortlessly flipped me onto the ground. Sensing her overwhelming spiritual power, I realized one thing. "So it was you. You killed those butterfly spirits and harvested their cores. Why? Why would you do this?" My younger sister threw her head back in laughter. "Dear sister, you finally figured it out. If you want to know why, look no further than yourself. If not for you, Jet would have formed a pact with me. I never wanted to kill them, but you're the one who drove my flower spirit away." My sister initially only intended to imprison those butterfly spirits to frame Callum. It was Jet's departure that planted wicked thoughts in her mind. Gritting my teeth through the pain, I said, "You're actually killing people. Don't you want to attain immortality anymore? Once Jet and I form our spiritual bond and exchange destinies, he'll be the one committing murders." My sister laughed. "With Callum gone now, someone of his temperament will soon start harming others. After the exchange, when I kill him, I'll naturally achieve Buddhahood just like you." I scoffed. "Clever plan, but Jet would never form a pact with you, for he wouldn't before." My sister said coldly before knocking me unconscious, but now that we have you, she strung me up on the ramparts of Butterfly Spirit Valley, declaring Jet must return to form the pact with her, or watch me hang. When our mother came to reason with her, she struck her down too. 3 days later, Jet appeared. The Butterfly Spirit Valley had transformed beyond recognition after their mother was wounded. The younger sister forced her to abdicate, plunging the entire valley into chaos within days. Even the wind carried the thick metallic tang of blood. Jet stood at the doorway, pointing at me as he said to his sister, "Let her go, and I'll form the pact with you." His sister glared at him in fury. "So you came after all, Jet, after all my devotion, you still choose this worthless wench. Since I'm here, Emery's, I'll honor the pact with you. Just release her first." Jet always keeps his word. With a snap of her fingers, my sister lowered me to the ground, yet no one dared to untie me. She shot me a contemptuous glance. "Sister, watch closely how I form a blood pact with your beloved." My sister approached Jet, deliberately pricked her finger, and let the blood coalesce into floating crimson orbs. The dagger was handed to Jet. Jet suddenly lunged at her sister. The younger sister couldn't dodge in time. The blade struck her chest, though not fatal. The wound enraged her. "You double-crossing bastard, Jet. I swear I'll kill Zephyr right now." But when she turned back, I was already standing beside Jet. My sister's pupils dilated in shock as realization dawned. You've been pretending all along." I nodded. "Obviously. Why, to ascend to immortality, one must rid the mortal realm of a great calamity. That scourge should have been Callum, but he's taken no lives in this lifetime, so the burden falls to you." My sister understood the moment I finished speaking. "So that's your game, Zephyr." My sister produced a celestial herb from her robes, our clan's sacred treasure from Butterfly Spirit Valley, and consumed it. "But you miscalculated. I'm no Callum. The two of you stand no chance against me." Empowered by the sacred herb, my sister's spiritual energy surged, overwhelming us both within moments. With one final palm strike, little sister sent us both crashing down. "I told you two couldn't beat me." Honestly, before she could finish, a long sword pierced through her from behind. Whirling around in shock, she saw Callum's face. You're still here." Callum sneered as he drew his sword. "Of course I stayed. Killing you grants immortality. Why would I pass up such an opportunity?" The blade struck his sister's vital point. Torrents of spiritual energy gushed from the gaping wound in her chest. Clutching the injury, she gasped, "No, this can't be." Yet that spiritual energy still dissipated. She reverted to her past self, staring blankly at me. "Zephyr, you've doomed me. May you die a wretched death," I said calmly. "The one who deserves to die now is you." I drew my dagger and handed it to Callum. "Kill her and you'll attain immortality. That was my promise to you." Callum glanced at the dagger and sneered. "I've lost interest in immortality. Your grudge with her runs deeper. You do the honors." I thrust the dagger into his hand. "Callum, I won't deny I've used you, but I never lied. You lacked the celestial mandate, had to earn it through merit. Now mortals build shrines in your name. This is your final trial. Seize it. Prove your doubters wrong." After my urging, Callum tightened his grip on the blade and advanced toward his sister, facing death. The sister's composure finally cracked. She took a few steps before Callum grabbed her by the neck. "Callum, please let me go. I beg you, spare me," she pleaded frantically, but Callum had no intention of listening. Just as he raised his knife to strike, her sister's scream pierced the air. "Flower goddess, save me." The sky darkened abruptly as the flower goddess descended from the heavens, snatching my sister away. The mastermind behind it all has finally made her appearance. Though I'd suspected the flower goddess was pulling the strings, I still couldn't believe it. Looking up at her, I demanded, "As a deity, how could you do this?" "Because your butterfly spirit kin deserved to perish," the flower goddess murmured. "Why should we flower spirits exchange our fates with your cursed earthbound kind? Are our lives worth nothing?" So the flower goddess befriended our butterfly spirit clan all along just for this day. She couldn't stand seeing the flower spirit's fates being altered, deeming our clan utterly shameless. That's why she recognized the Black Lotus was Callum in disguise, yet delivered it to us anyway. She'd long struck a deal with her sister. Even if Callum spared our clan, her sister would destroy us. The bargaining chip was Jet. My sister is destined for enlightenment, yet the flower goddess only seeks the annihilation of the butterfly spirit clan. In my past life, I only learned this after ascension, but in this lifetime, my sister knew all along. Someone must have revealed Jet's hidden truth to her. When will this cycle of vengeance end? Even the flower goddess seems to have forgotten. The one who originally cursed the butterfly spirit, preventing its ascension, was none other than herself. This was undoubtedly a brutal battle. Even with the three of us fighting together, we couldn't so much as scratch the flower goddess. In the end, the three of us lay on the ground, drenched in blood, yet Jet reached out and said to me, "Zephyr, let's form the pact." I nodded. I glanced at the bloodlust-crazed flower god, realizing this was our only way out now, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. I can't keep draining Jet's life force. As I hesitated, Callum reached out his hand. Bond with me instead. My spiritual power surpasses his. Witnessing this, my sister, who'd just regained some energy, lunged forward with her sword. How dare you? After all I've done for you, you'd kill me. That useless girl does nothing, yet you'd all die for her. If you're so eager to meet your end, let the flower goddess send all three of you to your graves together. The flower goddess gathered her energy once more. After a moment's thought, I turned to Jet and said, "All right." As Jet's brow relaxed, his hand reached out toward me. I gave him a shove instead, then dashed toward the flower goddess. Everyone forgot I'm Jet's real downfall. My death alone would make Jet ascend instantly. Zephyr, Zephyr. I ran toward the flower god's radiant light. I heard Jet screaming my name in anguish, saw two figures rushing toward me, but it was too late. I'd already collided with it, soar into the sky, then come falling down. In my final moments, I saw the sky filled with falling petals. Golden light emerged on the distant horizon as flocks of birds took flight. I saw Jet sitting there, tears streaming down her face as she transformed into a Buddha. Callum ascended in a flash of azure light. By the time I fell into Jet's arms, he and Callum had already reduced the flower goddess and my sister to ashes. The world finally fell silent. Jet's tears fell like raindrops upon my face. I heard him say he loved me, that he regretted everything. Callum was crying too, calling me heartless for not consulting him, saying now that he's immortal no one would look down on him anymore. I closed my eyes with a smile. Everything returned to how it was. It's all over. Story 2. The end of the world has arrived. My sister and I were fleeing for our lives when we encountered the Chinese army. My sister lied that I was infected, got on the plane alone, and left me among the zombie horde. I could only keep company with a group of adventurers. By a stroke of luck, I awakened my superpower. When I returned to the safe house in glory, my sister had already been infected and bit me before she died. Why do you have a better life than me? Given a chance to live again, my sister didn't hesitate to choose to stay. Hoping to awaken her superpower, at this moment, a prompt sound came from my mind. Host, welcome back. 1. Let my sister go. I'm willing to stay and wait for the next wave of rescue. When I heard these words, I suddenly realized that I had been reborn. Alyssa was desperately pushing me onto the rescue plane, and the urgency on her face was very sincere. She looked just like a sister who loved her elder sister deeply and understood the bigger picture. The rescue team members couldn't help but be moved by her. Others couldn't see through her, but I could see it clearly. There was still excitement on her face from being reborn, and the smile on her lips was not concealed at all. I pretended not to know anything, with tears in my eyes, and held her hand to give instructions. Alyssa, you must be careful when you're alone. Not only the zombie horde but also that group of so-called adventurers. Alyssa impatiently pulled her hand away, with a hostile expression on her face, and whispered in a voice that only I could hear, "Sister, this time, the one who awakens the superpower and is envied by others will be me. You can just be a coward in the safe house and finally be bitten to death by the zombies." Her face was full of resentment and viciousness, and she laughed heartily. I just found it ridiculous. Why did she think that I would follow in her footsteps? I was the one who fought my way out of the zombie horde. But I still pretended to be ignorant and looked at her with a confused expression. "Alyssa, what are you talking about?" When Alyssa saw me like this, she was even more convinced that she was the chosen one, the only one who had been reborn. She smiled and shook her head, but I clearly saw the arrogance in her eyes. "Got it, sister, hurry up and get on the plane." I had no choice but to look reluctant, turning back every few steps as I followed the rescue team members onto the helicopter. On the way to the safe house, the sound of the helicopter's propellers was very loud. However, my thoughts were not interrupted. Looking down from the window of the cabin, the sight was full of devastation. Since the zombie virus began to spread, the entire human world has been occupied by the virus. At first, there were large-scale animal deaths in the suburbs, causing panic. People initially thought it was caused by the nuclear wastewater pollution of a certain country, but within a few days, some humans began to have their skin rot and move in a dull manner. Like stray dogs, they would always gang up on lone humans and attack them. After research, Chinese experts named this virus the zombie virus and warned residents not to go out. When Alyssa saw the news, she was eager to leave the city and didn't listen to my dissuasion at all. I didn't feel at ease letting her go out alone, so I had to accompany her. In my previous life, the SUV broke down halfway, and we happened to meet the Chinese army that came to the rescue. Alyssa lied that I was infected with the zombie virus, left me behind, and got on the plane alone. Half an hour later, a large number of zombie hordes suddenly appeared in the city. I fled desperately, using all my strength to wound the zombies, but in the end, I was cornered in an unfinished building. When I was isolated and helpless, filled with despair, I awakened my superpower, because I didn't have a good grasp of my superpower. I got a lot of injuries before I managed to escape. It took a long time before I happened to meet the adventurers who came here to rest. After being rescued, I stayed with them and made a name for myself along the way. Just as the team was gradually growing and we returned to the safe house, I met Alyssa. The safe house was breached, and Alyssa was infected with the zombie virus. Seeing my successful return, she was filled with nothing but jealousy. I couldn't bear to kill her. But she bit me before she died. I had no choice but to die with her, given a chance to live again. I should really thank her for being willing to leave the hope of survival to me. As for the superpower, didn't she know? What belongs to me, no one can take away. The familiar electronic mechanical voice rang out at this moment. Host, welcome back. Long time no see, too. In an abandoned hospital in the suburbs, I was packing the medicine in the hospital together with my teammates. On the way to the safe house, I successfully connected with my system from my previous life and awakened my superpower. The base will issue an identity card to each person. One can accumulate exchange points by hunting zombies and other means to exchange for daily necessities and food, and I, within a month, cleared 5 zombie hordes and successfully saved the residents of an entire community, becoming widely known. I don't have great strength, but fortunately, with the blessing of my superpower, I am very agile. I can always kill a zombie with one strike when hunting them, but today, the mission took too long, and I was a bit exhausted. My mental strength of the superpower was also depleted. The long-term battle caused my blood sugar to drop, my palms were cold and trembling, and I bit my lower lip tightly, trying to hold on until I returned to the base. Autumn, be careful. My teammates' shout made me quickly perk up. When I turned my head, a zombie was rushing towards me at a very fast speed. Without time to think, I instinctively closed my eyes and swung my dagger, gurgling. It was the sound of the zombie's blood flowing into its throat after its head was cut off. I opened my eyes and met a pair of extremely gentle eyes. It was a somewhat familiar man. As if I had seen him somewhere before. Alexander. My teammate recognized him first. I remembered. It was the name that scrolled on the large screen of the base. Alexander, who is agile and known as the god of war. Alexander reached out and helped me up, asking with concern, "Are you okay?" I shook my head, gritted my teeth, and tried to stand up straight, but I still felt a bit unable to do so. But he suddenly smiled and forcefully stuffed a fruit candy into my mouth. It was lemon-flavored, and I squinted my eyes due to the sourness. "Your name is Autumn." In the car on the way back, Alexander sat beside me and asked. I had regained some energy and nodded at him. "A group of people who claimed to be adventurers came to the base today, and one of them has a name very similar to yours." He scratched his head in distress, as if recalling. "It seems to be called Ali." This sentence instantly raised my alertness to the maximum. My expression became serious immediately, and I interrupted him, saying the name first. "Alyssa." "Yes, that's the name, but you don't look like her at all." After hearing the name Alyssa, Alexander said very sincerely, "You look more pleasing to the eye than her." But I didn't have the time to care about his compliment to me. I reached out and patted my teammate in the driver's seat. "Drive faster, but it shouldn't be like this." According to the action trajectory in my previous life, at this time, I was on the way to find the safe house with the adventurers. Why did Alyssa come so quickly? 3. As soon as the SUV drove through the gate of the base, I saw Alyssa standing in the center of the crowd at a glance. She was surrounded by a group of adventurers. With a beaming smile on her face, I got out of the car, and when I saw Alyssa's face, I was quite shocked. The conditions in the end of the world were harsh. It was common to not have enough food to eat and not enough clothes to cover oneself. Even with the protection of the adventurers along the way, she had suffered a lot. At the moment, her cheeks were sunken, she was sallow and emaciated, and the long-term malnutrition had completely consumed all of her former baby fat. Even the black hair that she was so proud of had become dry, rough, and sparse on top of her head. Alexander's eyes kept turning between me and Alyssa, and he suddenly laughed out loud. I was a bit puzzled and turned my head to meet his gaze. He just reached out and patted my shoulder, saying meaningfully, "You have to be careful." Alexander left. I turned around and was about to leave. Just then, Alyssa caught a glimpse of me and choked out, "Sister." I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I had no choice but to turn around to see what tricks Alyssa could come up with. She pushed through the crowd and walked directly to my side, her eyes filled with tears. I was a bit confused. She clearly made the choice herself. What was she crying for now? She grabbed my hand and started crying when I was still in shock. Tears rolled down her cheeks, and she looked very pitiful. "Sister, you clearly saw me. Why didn't you want to recognize me?" I didn't want to have a dispute with her in front of others and tried to pull my hand back forcefully, but Alyssa fell straight to the ground following the force of my pull. Her head hit the cement ground with a thud. Many people present couldn't bear to see her like this and quickly went over to help her up. "What's wrong with you? How could you be so cruel to your own sister?" It has come true, that saying. How can you know if there are people or ghosts around you until you are at your saddest moment? Alyssa refused their kindness and shook her head helplessly. "Sister, are you still angry with me? The other day, You lost your necklace and insisted that I go and find it for you, but when I came back, you had already gotten on the rescue plane, and you wouldn't turn back no matter how much I called you. She crawled to my side with her hands and feet, hugged my leg tightly, and explained tearfully. I felt nothing inside, just thinking that my sister was really a good material for an actress. She trembled and took out a rusty necklace from her pocket, holding it in her hand like a precious treasure. Sister, I found the necklace for you. Please don't be angry anymore, okay? When the people around heard Alyssa's words, the looks in their eyes as they looked at me were filled with scrutiny. They started whispering, I heard that she is still the second-ranked hunter. How could she do such a thing? Some people even directly scolded me. In the end of the world, having someone like this is like having a time bomb beside you, abandoning her own sister among the zombie horde just for a necklace. She's really selfish. But the time bomb is Alyssa. And the selfish one is also Alyssa. My expression didn't change at all from beginning to end. The sisterly affection for Alyssa had already been completely consumed when we died together in my previous life. I'd rather go our separate ways, but she insisted on provoking me and even wanted to drown me in the saliva of others in this turbulent era. If I don't fight back, how can I be worthy of her scheming? Alyssa still held the necklace high, and her arm had already started to tremble. She stared at me through gritted teeth and mouthed at me, You lost. I didn't care about the scolding from the people around. I just looked down at her with a cold tone. Alyssa, do you dare to swear? But she laughed self-deprecatingly, wiped the tears on her face, and nodded submissively. Okay, sister, I won't say any more. Since you don't want to admit it, I don't want to make things difficult for you either. Just don't be angry with me. The voices of the people around accusing me were getting louder and louder. I really admire her ability to stir up trouble. I was very annoyed in my heart and just wanted to leave here quickly, but a familiar voice came from behind. Autumn, you weren't so indecisive when you were killing zombies. For such a vicious sister, do you still want to save her face? I turned my head and met those eyes that seemed to be smiling but not smiling. It was Alexander. Beside him was a familiar figure, the rescue team member who saved me that day. When Alyssa saw him, her face instantly changed. She clearly didn't expect there to be a witness who would expose her ridiculous lies. Everyone, this is the volunteer who participated in the rescue that day, as the first-ranked hunter. As soon as Alexander opened his mouth, the trust level soared instantly. Everyone fell silent and waited quietly for the rescuer to speak. I remember you. The rescuer frowned and thought for a while, then pointed at Alyssa. You volunteered to stay and wait for the next wave of rescue, and you voluntarily gave the chance to live to your sister. The crowd started whispering again. Didn't she say that her sister forced her to find the necklace? Sure enough, we can't just listen to one side of the story. I said Autumn didn't look like this kind of person, Alyssa. With her pale face, listened to everyone's discussions around her. She swallowed hard and tried to defend herself. It was all my sister who forced me to say that. She asked me to leave a good impression in front of others, but in front of the witness, all her explanations seemed very pale and powerless. I really wanted to laugh, but I held it back. Even a 3-year-old child has heard the story of the boy who cried wolf. Why did she expect those who had been deceived once to believe her again? The people around all cast wary glances at Alyssa. Some people had already taken a few steps back, as if they wanted to draw a clear line from her. Alyssa looked at all this in disbelief, and tears fell again. Are you afraid of her? Alexander came to my side at some point and asked me with a smile. Afraid? I almost laughed out loud. I just think there's no need to waste time on such a person. Just then, Alyssa covered her face and rushed out of the crowd, seemingly too ashamed to face it. You see, when the injury is not on oneself, one can't feel the pain. Guess whether those adventurers will take revenge on you. Alexander raised his chin, and I followed his gaze to the opposite side. Sure enough, they were the familiar faces from my previous life. I turned around and left, but Alexander followed behind me persistently. He reached out and patted my shoulder. Don't be afraid. I'll look out for you from now on. I might be the only one with superpowers in this world. With the memories of 2 lifetimes and the system that was reborn with me, would I be afraid? I stopped in my tracks, pursed my lips, but still couldn't help it and cursed with a smile. Crazy. Alyssa moved into the best dormitory, and her prestige among the crowd suddenly rose again. After hearing about what she had done, I just wanted to curse. Idiot. She was so stupid that even though she was my own sister, I wanted to kill her with my own hands, through making inquiries from various sources. I finally learned what had happened to Alyssa during this period. After I got on the rescue plane, she didn't encounter the zombie horde. Instead, she took the initiative to find the base of the adventurers and arrogantly demanded that they protect her. I was almost angry enough to laugh. Did she think those adventurers were some kind of heavenly soldiers descending from the sky? They were just a group of outlaws hiding under the guise of adventurers. Along the way, they burned, killed, looted, and committed all sorts of atrocities. In my previous life, after I was saved by that group of people, before I could even thank them, 4 or 5 burly men surrounded me. The greed in their eyes was not only for money but also a certain desire. I hastily took out all the valuable things on me, but what I got in return was their groping hands all over me. And I could only rely on my newly awakened superpower and use a dagger to slit the throat of one of them. Only then did I gain the fear of the others. I disdained to be with them, but in the face of the proposition of survival, I could only compromise. But Alyssa didn't have superpowers, and she couldn't be as resolute as I was. As expected, that group of adventurers beat her half to death, just when they were about to succeed in their evil deeds. In a desperate situation, she revealed that she had been reborn, which gave her a chance to catch her breath. She led this group of people to avoid the attacks of the zombie horde several times and gradually established a foothold. This time was the same. She took the initiative to admit that she was a reborn person and was willing to act with the hunters. She predicted the direction of the zombie evolution correctly several times and led the hunters to avoid the attacks of the zombie horde. Both the researchers and the ordinary people praised her. It was as if everyone had forgotten her previous slander of me, but it didn't matter. I didn't mind. All the hunters wanted to go on missions with Alyssa, except Alexander. When I asked him about it, he was quite straightforward. I said it last time, she's not as pleasing to the eye as you. She affects my mood when killing zombies. I pursed my lips. There wasn't a single word of truth coming out of this man's mouth. Fortunately, Alexander and I had a very tacit cooperation. Without the need for others, we could still get a high number of exchange points, but I suddenly found that the exchange points in my identity card were actually decreasing more and more. I frowned and asked the staff member in charge of counting the exchange points, "Why are my exchange points decreasing?" He immediately started operating on the keyboard. When he saw a certain page, he let out a long sigh of relief. "There's nothing wrong with the exchange points. There was a large-scale exchange on your side, large-scale exchange, but I hadn't made any large-scale exchanges at all." The staff member turned the display screen towards me and showed it to me. The numbers on it were shocking. The base recently upgraded the system, and every transaction is clearly recorded. By the way, now immediate family members can also use each other's exchange points. The staff member talked endlessly about the advancement of the system. But I keenly grasped the key point, immediate family members. I leaned closer to the screen and carefully identified the small characters in the line of exchanger. Sure enough, it was as I had thought. Alyssa, 6. It was lunchtime now. Without having time to change out of my equipment, I hurried to the dining hall. I saw Alyssa at a glance. Surrounded by many people, she sat in the middle like the moon surrounded by stars, with a gentle smile on her face. It seemed that she really enjoyed the feeling of being the center of attention. When I got closer, I could hear their voices of conversation. "It doesn't matter. You can order whatever you want. It's on me," Alyssa said casually. A little girl beside her opened her eyes wide. "Really? I haven't eaten these things for a long time." "Alyssa, you're so generous." When Alyssa heard this, the smile on her face became even wider. I gave a cold snort. Of course she can be generous. She's not using the exchange points that she fought for in the sea of corpses and blood. She actually has the nerve to be generous with other people's things. A surge of nameless anger welled up in my chest, and I immediately reached out and grabbed Alyssa's hair. Alyssa felt the pain, and her head had to tilt back following the force of my hand. In her panic, her pupils suddenly contracted. The little girl quickly stood up and tried to stop me. "What are you doing? How can you hit someone?" I ignored her and asked Alyssa word by word, "Do you have any shame?" A look of guilt flashed across Alyssa's face, and then she started to stubbornly argue. "Sister, what do you mean by that? I know you don't like me. I've already kept my distance from you. Why are you treating me like this?" She said these words very pitifully, as if I was bullying her. She had indeed kept her distance from me, but she didn't hold back at all when using my things. I was just about to question her when I was interrupted by the little girl beside me. "How can you be like this? Let go of your hand quickly. Do you know who she is? She's the one who was reborn. Everyone in the whole base needs her protection." I turned my head and stared at her until she shut up, and then I spoke. "Alyssa, is it really satisfying for you to act generous with my exchange points?" Alyssa's tears fell instantly. "Sister, I just feel sorry for Sophia. She just came to the base, and her body is still very weak. I really can't bear to see her not having enough to eat." The little girl named Sophia also started to choke up. "I'll pay you back in the future." I disdainfully pursed my lips. "Pay back? What can you use to pay back? You can only get 10 exchange points for hunting one zombie." I glanced at the sumptuous dishes on the table. "This table of food must cost at least 100 exchange points. With your small stature, when will you be able to pay it back?" Alyssa's mouth moved as if she wanted to say something, but I had already raised my hand and slapped her across the face. The clear sound directly attracted everyone's attention. How could she bear the shame of being slapped by me in full view of everyone? Her eyes were filled with hatred. Several onlookers couldn't stand it anymore and began to accuse me one after another. You have no compassion at all. Compassion. In the end of the world, whoever has compassion will die first. Alyssa, consider this meal as if I fed it to a dog, but you acted generous with my exchange points without my consent and lived in the most luxurious dormitory. Is it really being generous to be generous with other people's things? I sneered ironically. And those who had just spoken up for her immediately lowered their heads and remained silent. Alyssa's face turned pale, and she couldn't say anything either. Suddenly, a voice resounded through the base. Emergency notice, emergency notice. A large number of zombie hordes have appeared in the northwest direction. Request for support. My eyes froze. And I immediately let go of the hand that was holding Alyssa and prepared to go to the battlefield. When I went out, I heard someone lift Alyssa up to a high place. Alyssa, you are reborn. You must know how to defeat the zombies this time, right? Alyssa's response was very guilty. Of course, and I also remembered that in my previous life, no zombie horde could break through the restriction 10 kilometers away. Could it be that our rebirth had created a butterfly effect? 7. Alexander and I arrived at the place where the zombies appeared first and observed the movements of the zombies in the corner. I took out a small notebook from my pocket and quickly wrote a few lines on it. Alexander leaned over to look at me. What are you writing? I then explained. Don't you think the frequency of the appearance of zombies has been getting higher and higher recently? I pointed to a zombie in the distance. It moves very fast. Even if its leg is broken and it crawls on the ground with its 2 hands, its speed still doesn't decrease. Before, these zombies could only chase humans by smell. But now they can also avoid some potholes. Alexander looked at me with an approving gaze. You've observed very carefully, but my heart sank heavily. They have evolved. These situations had never occurred in my previous life. Before I died, all the zombies were still very slow. Without time to think, my first reaction was to return to the base and tell the researchers in the research institute about this. I tightly grasped Alexander's sleeve, wanting to get in the car with him. But then Alyssa's voice came from behind. Everyone, do as I say, and there will definitely be no problem. Her tone was very determined. A group of hunters cheered and even took out their weapons, planning to massacre this group of zombies. They didn't notice at all that after the zombies heard their voices, they directly followed the sound and came over, and they were even walking faster and faster. I gritted my teeth, thinking about whether I should save them or not. But Alexander had already put a dialed phone to my ear. Safe House Research Institute. What's the matter? I met his gaze and took a deep breath. The zombie horde has evolved, and there are too many unknown risks. Please recall the hunters. After a short silence on the other end of the phone, a somewhat aged voice answered the phone. Hello, I'm the director of the Research Institute. My name is Anthony. I've already heard what you just said. Hello, Director Anthony. I was just about to continue talking about the danger of this matter, but Director Anthony gave me a piece of shocking news. The Research Institute in the Southwest region has already encountered such incidents of zombie evolution and attacks. He paused. Being scratched by this group of zombies also poses a risk of infection, but we have already developed this vaccine, which can prevent the zombie virus to a certain extent. He wanted to say something more, but I had already hung up the phone. Something was wrong. I raised my head and looked in Alyssa's direction. This was also the first time I had seen so many zombies swarming up in groups. At first, they could still hold their own, but the zombies didn't feel tired, and many people were already exhausted. Alyssa clearly didn't expect things to be so serious, and she backed away in a panic. A zombie charged towards her accurately. Alyssa let out a scream. Before she could dodge, she casually grabbed a person beside her and blocked it in front of her. It was the girl named Sophia. Her arm was scratched by the zombie, and black-green liquid had already flowed out. This was a sign of mutation. Sophia probably couldn't understand either. The good sister she thought of would treat her like this. Alyssa looked around. No one noticed her. She picked up a dagger and directly slashed at Sophia's neck. The way she gritted her teeth, where was the tenderness she had pretended in front of others? Only a furious shout was heard, which forcefully stopped her action. Stop. 8. I couldn't hold back anymore. I shook off Alexander's hand that was holding me and rushed up. What are you doing? I looked at the dagger in Alyssa's hand and questioned her. She's been infected. I'm saving everyone's lives, Alyssa said righteously. Sophia had already been so scared that she was crying and trembling all over. Currently, there is no research to prove that being scratched will also lead to infection. If you wrongly kill her, can you bear the responsibility for this? I gave Alyssa a fierce glare and snatched the dagger from her hand. Sophia, don't be afraid if I have to cut off your arm, but I can ensure that you will survive. Would you be willing? I tried to make my tone as gentle as possible to soothe her. Sophia just kept shaking her head and crying. Alexander also came over. He was being so serious in front of me for the first time. Are you sure? Sophia couldn't make a decision for a long time, but the spread of the virus wouldn't give me any more time. I gritted my teeth and took out alcohol from my backpack that I carried with me and spilled it all on the dagger. My hands didn't stop. And I also replied to Alexander's question, by the way. I never do things that I'm not sure about. I took out a towel, tied it firmly, and stuffed it into Sophia's mouth. Endure it. With a swing of the knife, it fell. The infected stump was cut off by me. I quickly sprinkled on hemostatic powder and anesthetic to make her feel no pain for the time being. Sophia rolled her eyes and fainted. I wiped the cold sweat off my forehead. When I stood up, many people had already fallen down in front of me. Alyssa was already stunned by my actions. She roared and demanded that I pay with my life for Sophia, but at the moment, I didn't have the time to care about her. As I said just now, I never do things that I'm not sure about. This was true. Everyone thought that my superpower was agility, allowing me to accurately dodge the attacks of the zombies. No one knew that my real superpower was prophecy. At first, I could only predict the action of the next second, through using it many times in training. I could now predict things that would happen within 3 days. I closed my eyes and tried my best to predict what would happen next in my mind, trying to find the weakness of the zombies, but the roars of the zombies and the screams of humans in my ears still made it impossible for me to concentrate my mental strength. I shook my head irritably, trying to block out these sounds, but the sounds suddenly became quieter. I opened my eyes in confusion and saw Alexander standing in front of me, holding a weapon in his hand. Just focus on thinking. I'm here. He picked up the gun with a silencer, aimed at the zombie, and shot it in the head. At this moment, I also remembered the weaknesses of the zombies, the heart and the head. The sound of the horn gradually became louder. I picked up my weapon and quickly rushed into the zombie horde, killing several zombies in a row. Some people were already stunned and just stared at me blankly. They clearly realized that if they only listened to Alyssa, everyone would die here. Autumn, please, save me. Many people shouted desperately. Alyssa, however, tried to disrupt their vision and still stubbornly claimed that she was reborn and could save them. I didn't have the time to care about her anymore. I'm not a saint. I don't want to waste my mental strength in vain. Today, everyone owes me their lives. After returning to the base, those who were saved by me must go and get the experimental vaccine injection. I frowned and roared towards the back. If you want to live, do as I say. When I woke up again, I was already lying in a hospital bed, and my whole body felt as if it had been run over by a large truck. My mental strength had been exhausted, and I couldn't even remember what had happened before. I let out a sigh. But someone opened the door of the ward. Director Anthony, this is the room. Is she still not awake? The voices of several people talking reached my ears, and I opened my eyes again. Director Anthony, wasn't he the director of the research institute who had talked to me on the phone? After I met his gaze, several people were all taken aback. Director Anthony reacted quickly. He walked up to me rapidly and asked me with a smile, Autumn, is there anywhere else you feel uncomfortable? I shook my head and tried my best to prop myself up on the bed with my hands and sit up. Director Anthony gave a meaningful look, and the others all walked out of the ward, and he also told me what had happened during the extermination of the zombies that day. After I revealed the weakness of the zombies, I rushed into the zombie horde and desperately saved everyone present. With their weakness exploited, the zombies were driven back step by step, but I suddenly fainted. Only I knew what was going on. In a situation where my mental strength was exhausted, my body naturally couldn't hold on for long. Alyssa mixed in with the crowd, rushed towards me, took out a dagger, and tried to kill me, but fortunately, I was saved by Alexander and quickly sent to the base hospital. Director Anthony sighed. She's your own sister from the same mother. How could she be so vicious? I didn't comment. I just stared blankly at the white wall in front of me, feeling that all the care I had once given her had been wasted. Why did Alyssa always want to kill me? The atmosphere in the ward became oppressive. Director Anthony cleared his throat and started a new topic. Because of your promise that day, many people have voluntarily received the vaccine. The clinical trials were very successful. Thank you for everything you've done for humanity. I just gave a faint smile and didn't want to take the credit, but then I heard him change the subject. By the way, it's strange that the young man who brought you to the hospital that day still hasn't been vaccinated. I frowned and thought about it in my mind. Alexander wasn't the kind of person who was afraid of death. He had saved me twice. Just as I was lost in thought, the door of the ward suddenly opened. What came into view was that familiar, cynical face. The clothes on Alexander were covered in dust, obviously because he had walked a long way. He was holding a large bucket of fruit candies in his arms and smiled at me as if showing off his credit. I caught a glimpse of the yellow color wrapped in the plastic paper at a glance. Lemon flavor. We looked at each other, and both of us burst out laughing. 10. After being discharged from the hospital, I went to the room where Alyssa was being held. When the guards talked about her, they shook their heads helplessly. Alyssa always talks to herself and refuses to communicate with others. We suspect that there's something wrong with her mental state, under the instructions of Director Anthony. I successfully entered Alyssa's room. She was sitting on the bed, muttering to the wall. When she caught a glimpse of me from the corner of her eye, the hatred in her eyes suddenly surged. She rushed up and grabbed my wrist. Why? Clearly, I've lived 2 lives, yet I still end up like this. I was reborn. I will awaken my superpower, save all of humanity, and make everyone grateful to me. She seemed to be possessed, roaring and constantly asking me why. I just looked at her quietly. When she stopped talking, I said a sentence. Why do you think you're the only one who was reborn? This sentence was like a bolt from the blue, ringing above Alyssa's head. You. She stared at me in shock, her lips trembling, unable to say a word, but she quickly rejected the idea in her mind. Or perhaps she didn't dare to face the truth. It's impossible. This is absolutely impossible. Clearly I'm the chosen one. Only I can save humanity. You're just making up lies to deceive me. Her body went limp, and she collapsed to the ground, her face pale. I just thought she was pitiful. We had experienced so many things in our previous life. Given a chance to start over, she just wanted to follow in my footsteps. She didn't even want to use her brain to think. Alyssa suddenly went crazy. She roared, System, where are you? Come out. Didn't you say that I would save humanity? Didn't you say that I would be placed on a pedestal by everyone? You said that. As long as I killed Autumn and tripped Autumn up, everyone in this world would think highly of me. She kept hitting her head against the wall, trying to call out the system in her mind, and I also keenly extracted the key point from her words. Her system had ordered her to kill me, although I already had a system in my previous life. Besides telling me how to use my superpower, the system never said another word to me, privately. I always thought that the system couldn't be something that would harm people. Autumn, we'll meet in the next life. Alyssa had gone crazy. She tried to commit suicide, hoping to enter the cycle of rebirth again. I was quick-eyed and quick-handed, and I quickly dodged her figure as she charged towards me. Thud, she hit the wall. Blood splattered all over the wall. 11. Today was the day for the second batch of vaccine injections. I stood in the vaccination line and looked around, but still didn't see Alexander's figure. Last time, he missed the vaccination opportunity because he went to find fruit candies for me. This time, he didn't come again. Suddenly, like a flash of inspiration, I seemed to have grasped something. In my previous life, I had never heard of this person named Alexander. Could he be the uncontrollable factor of my rebirth? My shoulder was suddenly patted, and I turned around, just meeting those smiling eyes. Hi, my face immediately turned gloomy, and I gripped the dagger at my waist tightly, asking him coldly, Who are you? Alexander was taken aback for a moment, and the smile on his face gradually widened. You found out. He waved his hand casually, and time was frozen. There wasn't even the sound of breathing around. It was eerily quiet. He walked slowly to the side, pulled over a chair, and sat down. Sure enough, I didn't misjudge you. You still haven't answered my question. Sweat had already broken out on my palms, but I still held the dagger tightly and didn't take a step back. Me, Alexander raised his eyebrows. I'm the creator god of this world. 12. I was the one chosen by Alexander. My system and my superpower were all given to me by him. In my previous life, I was bitten by Alyssa. I would rather drag her to die together than hurt others, but in Alexander's eyes, this was a manifestation of my being a saint. The end of the world doesn't support saints, he said meaningfully. He showed mercy and gave me a second chance to live my life again. At the same time, he also arranged a new identity for Alyssa. He wanted Alyssa to be a stumbling block for me. Alyssa was brainwashed by the so-called system and tried every means to kill me, but I easily resolved it, and Alexander, just by helping me once, was able to make me lower my guard against him. He was overjoyed, you know. On the day you rushed up to save people, I thought I was going to fail again. You're still the same saint. He was referring to the time when I risked my own safety and exhausted my mental strength to save others. You made them exchange their cooperation in the experiment for their lives. I was very surprised. Alexander was looking at me as if I were a flower that he had carefully nurtured himself, and he was very satisfied. No wonder he was so at ease among the zombie horde. Never took the initiative to kill, and always stayed away from the crowd. No wonder he tried so hard to stay by my side and form a team with me. It turned out that it was just to make it convenient for him to observe my every move. I just found it ridiculous. How many lives were there in the whole world? How many people would he kill because of a so-called experiment? I took a step back, feeling a surge of anger. The next moment, I would hardly be able to resist stabbing the dagger into his chest. But he burst out laughing. Okay, don't be angry. Come with me. Where to? I asked, pretending not to understand. To the sky. There are no messy zombies there, and there are no weak people who need your protection. He sneered at my question, but didn't he know that these zombies were all his doing? The zombies that he found disgusting were the daily lives of us ordinary humans. It might take a lifetime to get out of this situation. I avoided the hand he extended towards me and cast my gaze on the people around. I asked him, what do you see? 13 people, zombies. or the desire to survive of these creatures, but I only see a God who thinks highly of himself and calls himself a God, doing whatever it takes to achieve his goals. Is this what a God is? We're just prey, being played within your hands, all living things are suffering, and the world is in ruins. Is this what you want to see? I met his gaze neither humbly nor arrogantly. Alexander just sneered. The end of the world doesn't need saints. The people who can survive don't care about the death of humanity at all, except you. He disdainfully pursed his lips and left 4 words behind. The experiment failed. In his eyes, I, who spoke for humanity, was a saint. But was that really the case? I didn't think I was wrong. I wanted to save all of humanity. And I also wanted to save myself. 14. When I heard these words, I suddenly realized that I had been reborn. Bow took away my superpower. I was still standing in the vaccination line, moving forward bit by bit with the crowd. My wife is pregnant. A man was chatting happily with the people around him. New life in the end of the world always makes people feel shocked. So, it doesn't matter if I'm a bit of a saint. There are always people who care about the current life, including me.